I could help these guys anti-bitter.
Right now.
The standard of truth has been erected.
Stop playing defense.
You're absolutely right.
No unhallowed hand can stop the broadcast.
That is the way that a lot of Latter-day Saints do apologetics.
Cancel culture rages and mobs combine.
We actually had one of the protesters over for dinner.
What?
But the truth of God will go forth boldly
These people are lying to you. They do not care about you.
until it has reached every television, sounded in every iPhone, and reached every person. This signal will continue to go forth. Here, we defend truth. Here, we denounce deception. Here, we are created in the image of God. Our detractors call us crazy, but our friends call us.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ward Radio live stream. I am your host, Cardin Ellis. And today I am joined in the studio by a very special guest, none other than Cody wrong chair.
Cody's fine.
Yeah, Cody. All right. Well, it used to be called Cody the Oracle, and that was a really cool name. Why'd you get rid of it?
Well, I mean, that was my name when we did the other show, but we don't do that show anymore now, so I'm just Cody now.
You're just Cody now. Okay, well, he's my friend, Cody.
Yes.
Okay. And
Even better title, Cardin's friend.
Yes, Cardin's friend, Cody. Warm fuzzies.
Yes.
But he's got a problem.
I do? I didn't know I had a problem.
Yeah, you're not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, dog.
I forgot.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, dude, I mean, we're doing the church show today, bro.
Okay,
cool. So anyway, the subject of today's show is actually going to be a lot of fun. And as you can read on the title, we're going to be taking Cody, a non-member, to church for the first time. Cody, have you ever gone to what used to be called the Mormon Church, but is formerly the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Have you ever been, bro?
No, so I'm curious. I figured, you're a friend of mine, and as part of your, standard missionary duties, you're now forcing me to go to church with you.
My standard...
But no, I am interested. You're a good friend of mine. I've known you for a while now, and so yeah, I'm interested to see kind of what you do on Sundays.
So, so you're getting forced. That's funny. I'll pay. Actually, you're getting paid, Cody.
I'm being bribed.
Yeah.
So no, I am legitimately going. And like I said, you're a friend of mine. I figure you've been going there for a while. I might as well check it out. I really am not, averse to checking out really any church or faith or religion or anything. I guess a little background, I don't really belong to any religion myself, which is one of the reasons why I guess a bit of like a free agent, so to speak. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting.
You're a free agent?
Yeah. Well, again, I'm someone who I don't really have like any faith or church I go to, but I'm not like against it. I'm not like, oh, I can't stand religious people. It's just nothing's spoken to me directly, but I'm willing to check it out.
Yeah, so you've brought up a very interesting term here. We lack nomenclature. For like, what do you call like a normie? See, you're a big time gamer, right?
Oh, sometimes.
So, well, actually, I wouldn't call you a big time gamer, but I'd say, is it fair to say that's probably your main diversion?
Sure, it's a hobby of mine, unfortunately. That is
okay.
True.
Well, it's a hobby of yours, right?
Yes.
Well, in the gamer speak, I've had a lot of the gamer nomenclature rub off on me after being friends with you all these years. Mm-hmm. So like, normies and stuff like that. What's the word for religious normies? We have to invent one.
Well, I mean, I guess that's
because the uninitiated, we know all the cool terminologies, and there's in-speak and out-speak amongst Jews and Catholics,
religions have words for people who aren't a member of their religion. Most of them.
Dude. So we got to develop them, because here in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, chat, help me out with this. We kind of just have, you're a member or you're a non-member, and even non-member, we've had conference talks where leadership of the church in one capacity or another has kind of gotten to the stand and said, hey guys, non-member, it kind of sounds a little bit sterile and a little bit exclusionary. So, let's try and not use the term non-member. All right. And let's just call him a friend of the church. Right. But like, I mean, a disinterested party that is unfamiliar and just checking it out is not the same as like somebody whose entire family is a member of the church and they're a friend of the church because they're helping out and they love it. So I feel like there's some nomenclature that needs to be cleared up there, you know?
Yeah, well, I guess also there in the sense that it's like I said, it's not like I'm like a Catholic or I'm like Jewish, like I go to temple or anything, right? It's like I don't really go to any, like I'm not like religious in any way. So I guess there is a difference between people that like aren't Mormon because they have another faith they subscribe to. People
you're half religious, bro. Whether you like it or not, bro. You're half Jewish. So when the crap hits the fan, you could always go back to the motherland, bro.
Oh well,
you could go back to the motherland and you could be like, just like Elizabeth Shue in The Saint when she's running to the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. She's like, I'm an American, I'm an American, I'm an American. You're blessed with 50% of the world's only true ethno-religion, dog. And you could always just be like, I'm Jewish, yo. And they'd be like, all right, you're in the club, man.
I guess, but okay. So I guess speaking of, though, getting back, I guess, a little more to the topic at hand. So, because you refuse to tell me anything about what I can expect this Sunday, you won't let me ask you any questions. You said you got to wait. Is now an appropriate time to ask them?
Save it for the show is what I said. And yes, now we're in the show, so you can save it.
Okay, so the first thing, obviously, is that, especially getting to, like, what is, like, I'm assuming there's a dress code, right? Right? Like, you can't just wear anything. Right?
Well, it's not like a nice restaurant in LA. You really can wear anybody and nobody would care. However, it would be obvious that you were a first-time visitor if you weren't dressed as nicely. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, but still, I mean, even so as far as like visitors go, like I can more or less just kind of like if I showed up in this, probably minus the hat, like people would immediately be like, oh, not like in a bad way, but there wouldn't even be a question if I was like,
okay, if you showed up wearing a hat, they'd think you might be somebody's inactive son.
Like I said, minus the hat, like just like, you know, like a polo shirt, I guess. I'm wearing like black slacks, kind of like they look at me and be like, oh, that guy's not a member, like immediately.
If they were not familiar with it, that might be the assumption, or that you're an inactive guy that's come back after a long time not being there. But us, the hardcore members, you know what I'm saying? You know what we do? We show up in shirts and ties, bro. We gotta go get you a shirt and tie, dog. So, you got a shirt and tie?
Not with me, but okay. So that kind of answers my question. So yeah, like there's also, I was wondering if, because I know it kind of goes both ways a little bit with like certain like just like organized things that have dress codes, right? I know like for example, I guess this is a little bit different because it's like in a business sense, but there's certain companies and businesses where it's like, obviously, if you just got a job, you can't have like a mustache and a beard. Like you got to, but then it's like once you work up to a certain point, it's like the crazier someone's beard is, like the more it's like that guy is untouchable. That's the only guy who knows how the thing works. Like he can do that if he wants. You know what I mean? It's like that, where it's like there's people that get high up enough locally church where they just kind of show up a bit more casual, just in the sense that it's like, you know, I'm not disrespecting anyone. It's just, you know, like I can kind of show up in my shorts.
You know,
like,
that's a really interesting question. And chat, what would you guys say is the answer to that question? I would argue that actually the higher you get up, the more clean cut you are, because the more you understand that you are representative of the faith.
I get that. Well, I guess, you know what? I guess that's the difference between kind of more like business environments and like a faith environment, where in a business, as you get up, the more it's like, oh, I get to care less now. Where I guess when it's something serious that's actually important and matters, the higher up you get, the more you're like, I have to care more now.
In fact, that's actually kind of a funny cultural ism that you've stumbled upon that I hadn't really thought about before. But there's a joke that, like, if you never want to get called as bishop, and bishop, oh, hey, what's up? Hey, look, our alert box is working now, Cody.
Oh, okay, cool. A little bit on the
rock on right there. Joshua Williams. It says donated, though, and it should say super chat. So we're going to have to work on that one. But anyway, Joshua Williams gave us a super chat, says, firstly, new intro goes hard. Secondly, I'm uneducated on the topic, but why do we still have testimony meeting? ? Understand the fasting, but the testimonies seem to universally derail the meetings. Well, you do need to go to a better testimony meeting.
Well, hold on, wait. Just I guess in the spirit of it. What does that mean? I don't know any of that means.
Okay,
what does that mean?
So, dude, Bruh, I'm going to take you to a testimony meeting one of these times. And testimony meeting is actually 3 out of 4 weeks in the month. All right. Actually, first, let me answer the first question. Mm-hmm. There's a joke in Mormonism that as long as you wear colored shirts and you don't wear a suit to church, they'll never call you to one of the more responsible positions, right?
Makes sense.
And so, like, as a joke, like, if you wear a colored shirt to church, people will say, like, yeah, I'm trying to avoid being called in, like, the bishopric, or, into like a leadership position, right? But it's generally a self-deprecating joke. But there's a lot of truth to it because the generally more serious people get called to the higher, more dedicated leadership positions because our clergy is completely lay. Nobody gets paid. It's all volunteer, right? So obviously, if you're in the Boy Scouts and you're the guy that's showing up with your shirt tucked in and all of your badges in a row and everything, they're probably going to assume that you like it more. They're probably going to assume you want more responsibility, or maybe not even want it, but could handle more responsibility. So they'll probably end up giving you more responsibility, right?
Fair enough.
So we put the dress code question to rest. Now we answer.
Well, not quite, but anyway, I do want you to get to super chat first. We'll go back to the dress code.
So Joshua Williams says, firstly, new intro goes hard. Secondly, I'm uneducated on the topic, but why do we still have testimony meeting? Understand the fasting, but the testimonies seem to universally derail the meetings. Well, here's the deal. Once a month, we fast for 24 hours, and the money you would have spent on food, we give to the poor through something called a fast offering. All right. So you show up to church in these cool little envelopes if you pay cash, or you can actually just do it on your iPhone. You transfer whatever amount, whatever 40 or 50 bucks you would have spent on food that day to the bishop's storehouse, which administers to the poor and needy in the congregation, right? And it's a great system. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints' welfare system has been world-renowned for its efficacy in helping those that are needy amongst us, right? And fortunately, it is so superfluous that it actually helps people outside of our church, not just those within our church, because members are generally very generous with those donations. Okay, so that's where the fasting part comes from. You fast for 24 hours once a month, right? It's kind of like the only real hardcore dietary restriction thing that we do, besides, I'd say, avoiding alcohol and tobacco, right? So anyway, we fast, and then in the spirit of fasting, it's always the first Sunday of the month, you come to a special meeting where instead of usually having a youth speaker speak for 5 minutes, and then the bishop, who's the head of the congregation, speak for 15 minutes, and then 2 adult speakers speak for 15 minutes each, and then have an opening and a closing hymn for 5 minutes each. In that hour-long meeting, instead of having 4 or 5 speakers, what you do is you just sing the opening hymn, and then anybody that feels so inclined in the entire congregation that's a member can... You're already grimacing.
Well,
can go up
the context is starting to make sense. I understand the super chat now.
Yes, you understand the super chat now. So, El Marie donated too. We're going to get to her super chat. Well, what happens is anybody can go up and they generally bear their testimony, which is basically they'll oftentimes relate an experience that augmented their faith. And dude, sometimes they're weird experiences. Sometimes they're hospital monies. Sometimes people don't really scour for their faith until they've had a health scare, and you get to hear a few more details than you really should about their colonoscopy.
Well, is there kind of like a like, I don't want to say established, but like going in, do people more or less understand the tone you're going for here for like what
they should?
But they don't.
They should.
But I mean, like,
most congregations are good, and 9 out of 10.
What is that tone? Is it more of like a, like we want you to hear the truth, but also like, like we don't need, like, is it like you don't want it like super like heavy and like a downer? Is it like that?
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily heavy and a downer. It's just that like sometimes it's awkward. I'll be honest, but here's the deal: 9 out of 10 of them are great. You'll have somebody who will come up and will say, I struggled with this week, and I got on my knees and I prayed, and the Lord just inspired me, go do this thing. And I've never done that thing before. So I was like, okay. And I went, I did it, and lo and behold, this wonderful thing happened. The problem was solved. Relying on the Lord works. Or else somebody else will get up and say, our family's had this family goal to do X or Y or Z thing, and we've struggled with A, B, or C thing. So we decided, we're really going to search the scriptures for some answers here. And you know what? We were reading in the book of John, and we found this answer to this question, and we all decided as a family to do it that day. And guess what? This thing worked out. So my testimony, which means like basically my knowledge and the truth thereof of reading your scriptures, was augmented, right? And so it's kind of like,
okay, I get it. Is it more like you need like the Oscar music to start playing at a certain point?
Again.
Or it's just like, well, asking like as far as like derail, is it like, do some people just go on forever and you're just sitting there like, okay,
if you get a note from the bishop, if he stands up and he passes you a note, that's kind of like,
do they actually like give people the hook when they're giving their like, okay.
Hey chat, should we have a hook for bad testimonies?
Well, I mean, they literally pass you the paper and it's like, stop. I mean, it's the same thing. Okay, but then I was wondering, because, like, yeah, like, whenever it's like, well, you open the floor to everyone, like, yeah, like, it's probably going to get derailed in some way. Or, because I was wondering, is it like, do some people just kind of like, you know, like, they feel comfortable, so they kind of share a lot, and it just makes it awkward for everyone else? Do some people kind of just, like, does it like the side chatter start? Do people, like, you know, like, start talking about, like, oh yeah, I remember that, I was there that day? Like, is it like that? Like, I'm just curious, kind of the general, like, theme is, you know, is everyone really respectful and kind of just waiting their turn, but some people just kind of like go on and on and on and on, and then, like, people get sidetracked and distracted.
Every once in a while, there's a socially unintelligent person that takes up too much time or shares a story that's a little bit awkward. But 9 out of 10 times, it's very uplifting. It's beautiful.
I get it.
And to me, it's proof positive that Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is unlike any other church out there. Because unfortunately, a lot of the North American churches have degenerated into chicken soup of the soul business models, where they don't want to say any doctrine that puts anybody actually in their place and tells them how to be more righteous, because that might be offensive. They just want to give warm, fuzzy chicken noodle soup for the soul sermons that don't really truly offend anybody and make you think that the church donation you gave that goes to the pastor's 6-figure income that he gets because of the religious protections clauses of 501c3s allow it.
Hold on.
You know,
I'm not trying to be like rude here, but I'm just saying, like, is there not some of that also goes on in the Mormon faith? Don't you guys also give money to the church?
All of the clergy is unpaid, and the money that you do
I guess you're right. I guess they don't. Wait, hold on. But, like, I guess I never thought of the economics of every church. But so, like, I guess, like, in mega churches, they get like a paycheck salary, like a paycheck.
Dude, being a pastor, 120 to 175K a year if you're in one of those mega churches. Youth pastor, 65, 75K.
Really?
Dude, yeah, hardcore, man.
But is there anything? I mean, actually, now that I guess I'm not like a religious person myself, but I'm a little bit familiar with some church history, and I'm realizing this is an argument that's happened a million times before, right? Where I was thinking, like, like, I guess nothing in the Bible says priests can't make money, right? But then does it? 'Cause I remember
it's called priestcraft, and in the Book of Mormon, it's heavily condemned, and throughout the Bible, it's heavily condemned.
Okay.
What's funny, though, is that you will have priests that say, oh, well, the Apostle Paul says that a servant is worthy of his hire, right? Well, yeah, that's talking about, like, a traveling servant who's worth the dinner that the local people give him, not, you know, a straight up 6-figure income because you just read the Bible all day and then chicken noodle soup for the soul it, mini Tony Robbins style, you know, during the afternoons. It's like you've degenerated the term shepherd into not a person that corrals a flock and corrects them and defends against wolves, but you chicken noodle of the soup sold it, you know. I don't know. I have a big problem with priestcraft, and one of the biggest things that has augmented my testimony in the church is that all of our clergy is lay. Even the most devoted bishop, which is really a part-time job. You spend 25 to 30 hours a week attending to your flock, counseling people. You're a little mini therapist, a mini pastor, a mini PR guy, and a mini seminarian teacher for 4 years, and it's a 4-year round, and God helps you. I've had a million people say that, man, the responsibility, I didn't think I could handle it, but God augmented my ability to bear that burden over those 4 years. But yeah, so the economics, dude, nobody makes money in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So the only people who do actually are if you get called to, like, if you actually have a professional position, like the janitor makes money.
Well, I get that.
You know,
like,
because we actually hire
Yeah.
a janitorial company.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you become like one of the top 12 apostles, you're stripped of your ability to actually hold a regular job. And so they give you a stipend that is just barely above the economic stress threshold as determined by the Congressional Business Office, I believe it is, releases those stats, if I'm not mistaken. They make less than a high school administrator, they make less than a high school principal, but more than a high school teacher. Make the same as like a high school administrator.
It's not like a vow of poverty, but it's also like you can't necessarily go work somewhere else, so we'll take it. I get that.
Jokingly, they call the Toyota Avalon the apostle vehicle because it's like basically like the nicest car that you can buy with the stipend that they give you for the car. And so like you see a lot of Apostles and Toyota Avalons, which are like the leather seat version of the Camry. You know what I'm saying?
Basically a Lexus, right?
Yeah, it's basically the generic Lexus. So you're going to have a life that's demonstrative of a generic Lexus.
No,
okay?
I get it. But okay, so I get it.
So that super chat, we're going to go back to that super chat. By the way, we forgot to say, if you haven't had a chance, guys, please like this stream. Let this be the day that we earn your subscription. And Cody, you got to help me out to know if I'm doing the Streamlabs things right so that the subscriptions come up. But we have it come up now when you give a super chat. So we're working on making the stream cooler.
Oh, no, yeah. Well,
But Josh Williams, thanks for your super chat. And El Marie, investigators shall heretofore be referred to as chrysalicytes, transforming from caterpillar to butterfly. The process is going from God to gods. Got to be malleable to become solid. Bruh. That's funny. So El Marie wants to be chrysalicytes. Okay, there's way too many S's and Chris in there, but I see where you're going with it, and I totally dig it. You know, so if you guys have any questions you want for our buddy, non-member Cody here, he is a blank canvas.
well, I guess, hold on. So back to, I guess, the original topic then. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, hit
assuming it's not going to cost me money to go. I'm assuming it's free.
No, that's free.
Okay, so we've established my attire, right? I need to wear. So
Have you
also-
been wondering that this whole time, bro?
Well, no, I mean I assumed as much, but just after
Pay up, B.
after what you just established, I think it's easier to say for certain. And then also I want to get back to the uniform thing. Is
The
there
uniform thing.
Yeah, well, okay. So like I said, so if I walked in like this, like you said, they would look at me and be like, okay, this guy obviously doesn't like go here all the time.
Yeah, but they're not going to
Well, they
kick you
wouldn't
out.
recognize. They wouldn't kick me. They wouldn't recognize me. One, I'm assuming they recognize most members in your wards, right? Like they
Yeah.
kind of know who goes.
Yeah.
But beyond that, then is there like an outfit though that's like a little bit like too much like the junior outfit? Like you like, you know what I mean? Like, or is everyone more or less wear the same?
I mean, if you show up in a Speedo.
No,
they might,
that's not what I mean. What I mean is like, is there an outfit that's like, yeah, it's like what the kid missionaries wear, like the adults kind of wear something different, or is everyone more or less wear the same?
You know, in a perfect world, I bet you the boomers would want everybody to wear a suit, but they don't get that out of me, dude. I show
Okay,
up.
Well, I answer my question, but what I'm saying is like there isn't anything that's like recognized as like that's like what like we have like the like younger members like when they're kind of like starting like they wear that.
Oh,
and then
actually,
eventually
you're making fun of deacons. Okay, so when
I'm
you
not
become
making fun of
12,
any-
no,
no,
you
it's-
don't. You've stumbled upon some hilarious church lore here.
Okay.
You have no idea. You've literally stepped on the deacon landmine. You will get criticized if you're not dressed well. They'll say, "Dude, you look like a deacon." And deacon is when you go from being 11 years old, you're no longer in Sunday school and primary with the children. You're in the young men's program. You're a young man now. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And as a young man, it's kind of expected that you dress up nicer for church. You're no longer a child. You're now a man, right? But anybody that's met a 12-year-old, they're growing quickly. So sometimes the pants are high waters. What might have not fit you 2 or 3 weeks ago
Okay, no,
is...
I get that.
they don't. Oftentimes they'll forget their belt, or else they won't match their shoe with their belt, or else they don't know how to tie a tie completely right yet.
No, I get that. Yeah. They
You
just
know,
don't look like they look like. Okay, I get.
They look like
Okay.
they're trying, but they're not succeeding.
My larger point was, I guess, like in the Boy Scouts, like the scout, like the adults and the kids were more or less the same outfit, right? Just like an adult-sized version.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other industries, right, where it's like when kids and stuff, they might wear one outfit, but like the adults will actually wear like a different. I was wondering which one it was like, but I guess like it says more like the Boy Scouts, everyone kind of wears the same outfit, right? It's not like, oh, that's like what the teenagers wear. Eventually, adults are supposed to change into something else. It isn't like that. So.
Oh, hey, Brittany just showed up. What's up?
Oh, hey.
Brittany the Shadow is here joining us. Guess what the subject is today?
I was actually listening the whole time.
Oh, you
on
were.
my drive here, yes.
Awesome, dude.
So
LA
is Cardin-
traffic.
Is
It's a
Cardin
B.
right about the dress code stuff, or is that just how he dresses?
No, he's pretty spot on.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Shirt and tie. Yeah.
Shirt
Yeah,
tie.
colored shirt. Yeah, you're just, you're not a member, you're inactive, or you're trying to be cool, or I don't know. But Cody the Oracle, I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, what's that?
And was dying laughing in the car when you said, did they start the Oscar music? Like, wrap up? I was like, we should start that. We should start that.
Well, I was wondering because the donator said that it was a that like it kind of felt like it like derailed the meeting and stuff. So I was trying to just imagine like open forum, what kind of derails things, and get people just
Yeah.
rambling on for a while. Or maybe not rambling, but people who might lose track of time because they're very involved in their story. And for other people, it might just be like, wow, this is quite a story. And that would definitely derail things a little bit.
Okay, I don't know what we're talking about right now because my phone cut out, but you didn't tell them my 2 most favorite testimonies of all time.
Oh, are these super cringe?
Or super awesome.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay, which one, dude?
One was when...
Was the one about the dream the lady had about the wolves?
Yes, it was not a dream, though. That was real. She takes care of wolves and how they're so much better and so much more heavenly than people. And we were all like, oh, cool.
That's some like new knowledge there.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. My second most favorite is when this cute little elderly lady gets up. She shares her testimony about marijuana and how it's helped her husband immensely. And she doesn't know why we've ever been against it because she and her husband love doing marijuana. And it was hilarious. Everyone didn't know like what to do. We were all like just looking straight ahead. Like, are people clapping? Are they agreeing? Are we all just going to stare like, what are we doing? But that was awesome. Sweet little old lady bearing her testimony about marijuana.
Are you kidding me?
No. That was in the same ward. We had the wolf and the marijuana. I'm in California. We're a different breed.
Wait,
I
was
guess.
that when we first got married and I just wasn't there on one of those Sundays? Is that Beverly Hills 2nd? What?
It's the word you're
Or the
thinking
third?
of. It's the word you're
okay.
thinking of. Yeah.
Okay, or the 4th.
Oh, I guess so. That is very. So I guess we were talking earlier about this a little bit. But so there is kind of like regional differences amongst like different Mormon areas.
Oh yeah.
Like you can tell, like I guess like in general, you can kind of tell if someone's from a different state or a different area. But it's the same. Like
Dude, there's Utah Mormons v. California Mormons, bro.
It's a thing. Like there's like Utah Mormons and there's California Mormons, and then you have like Arizona Mormons, and then you have East Coast Mormon. I don't know. I feel
It's
like
basically like real versus fake.
No, it's not like that. It's
well,
just
the same regional beefs exist in general, right? So I guess it makes sense that it wouldn't be that different for people that are Mormon. They're not like a different species, I guess. Because I mean, like they're in general, there's like think about it. Even like in California, there's like Northern California, Southern California, kind of like rivalry and stuff. So I could see the same thing, especially just wherever like so like as far as the United States, densest concentration of Mormons, it's Utah. I'm assuming Utah for reasons, and then California and like Texas, Florida, New York, because everyone lives there. Is that basically where most Mormons are?
Well, actually, there's more members of the church outside of U.S. boundaries than there are within it now.
So what country?
We're truly a worldwide. We're blowing
Africa
up.
has a ton. Who was saying that? The guy that was predicting the temples. What was his name?
Yeah, we're blowing up in Africa, the whole 9 yards.
But I get just in general though, like as far as like top of your head, what are some of like the main countries that are that there's a
Brazil.
lot of? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
South America.
So here,
All
let's
people
check
in
out a
Brazil.
couple of these super chats. Hey, keepers of the chats.
Okay. Well, I don't know where you left off.
Well, actually, I'll do these last two. You can do the next two.
Okay.
Danny Gray says, y'all just come to my word. If the lesson is boring, my wife sneaks people out and drives them to the soda shop down the street.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Is your wife my friend? Because that's what she does. We go to Circle K. And by we, I mean just she. I would never.
What?
I would never.
So
You've dipped out?
So this is like
Sometimes, but now I teach primary, so now I can't.
so it's like a real
Brittany!
thing. Like it's like members like they know it's like okay, it's this time again, and like people are kind of like.
You have your teachers that you like, and then there's other ones where you walk in and you're like, ooh, and you immediately walk out.
Well, I just think it's funny how it's like a thing. Like everyone knows going in. Like this is like an event, right? Like it's never dull. I'm assuming.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's a stereotype that is not true but is true that high councilmen give boring talks.
Okay.
And they have to rotate through all the congregations, and I don't know what it is about culture from 1950 to 1985 that made it so that public speeches have to be just very uninteresting dissertations. But yes, if a high councilman gets up there, with 7 out of 10 of them, you better hope you got a really good Candy Crush on your iPhone. You know?
Wait, hold on.
Okay,
I
what,
have to read this super chat because this beats my most two favorite.
Oh no, what is it?
Okay. Cass Bang Bang says, had a gal in the singles ward stand up and say it had been revealed to her that Satan would be saved at the last day and how she was to be Jesus's wife.
What?
Hey, that's a pretty big one. You don't hear that every day, right?
Man, we're gonna scare
Oh
away
my.
Cody here.
Oh
Cody's
my.
gonna feel like he's
Okay.
walking into the lion's den.
So hold on. So I guess getting back on topic a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know. Do you guys do like multiple services a day? How do you like? What is like a Sunday like at
So
a Mormon church?
Okay, so you know how we're called ward radio?
Yeah.
Okay, so different areas have different wards.
Alright.
So like here, there's probably 6 wards, Cardin, based on where you live. So like this zip code is this ward. This zip code is this ward. If you're in Utah, it's like this street is this ward. Okay, and then a bunch of wards. I think it's 5 wards constitute a stake.
Generally every 5 to 7 wards.
I think you have to have
comprises a
5
stake,
wards
yeah.
to make a stake.
Mhm.
So, I'm sorry. What was your question?
Basically, let's fast forward to Sunday. Like, what is
Oh,
it?
multiple services. You're asking about
Yeah,
that.
is it like? Do you do? How long is it? Like, when does it start?
So
I have no idea.
usually like a few wards might share a building. So one ward might be at 9 a.m., another ward might be at 11, another ward might be at 1. So it kind of,
So you really see like just your ward people, right?
yes. Yeah, your ward becomes like your ward family. That's a term.
And
that we
it
use.
actually, ironically enough, it oftentimes follows public school boundaries, at least here in California,
That's
where
true.
there's enough members of the church spread out in society. About, I'd say, it used to be 1%. COVID knocked it down to less than 1%. But it used to be that a solid 0.5% to 1% of any city was members of the church. And probably 25% of that 1% consistently showed up to church on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So if you moved into any neighborhood, you were going to be within 4 or 5 blocks of another member of the church, right?
Mhm.
And so they would design the boundaries so that everybody in a neighborhood would comprise a ward.
No, I get that.
And that group would be about 150 to 250 people that are showing up and actively participating on a Sunday, right?
Mhm.
And then every 4 or 5 communities to every 5 to 7 communities would comprise a stake.
Mhm.
And wards would be led by a bishop, and the stakes would be led by a stake president who's in charge of like 5 to 7 stakes, right?
Okay. Oh, well, hold on. I guess like my larger question is this, right? Like,
Yeah.
say going to a baseball game,
Yeah, rock
and
on.
they say first pitch 7:10 p.m.
Cool, yeah.
I mean, you're free to get there whenever. Normally, most people like to get there probably like a little bit.
The
before
old people
7,
show up early, the young people show up late.
around them, but
Yeah.
still. And then like first pitch normally is like at like 7:10. They have like a national anthem singing before that. Game ends about 3 hours later. So what is that like for a Sunday at the Mormon church? I'm assuming some people get there early, some people get there right on. I'm assuming like is it 7 hours long? Is it?
There's a thing called Mormon Standard Time where it's like so like for a while our church was at 8:30 in the morning,
Okay.
and wow,
That was rough.
That was rough. That was an early one.
And so like 8:30
So people
would be
would like trickle in, okay?
okay.
But I think for the most part, wards don't start that early, and so I think people will get there like right on time. I have yet to see many people that get there too early. Like it's usually right about when it
Okay.
starts.
So it's more kind of like I guess like a college class. People kind of like want to get there like close to when it starts,
Yes.
as opposed to like a baseball game where you get there like an hour early and kind of mingle.
in
Dude,
all the
it's
wards
not-
I've been in, I don't know of anyone that like gets there 10 minutes early.
It's
I just
definitely
don't.
not like Orthodox Judaism,
Oh, hold
where
on.
like
Wait,
they
so
shut the door when Shabbat starts.
No, but it really. So you guys really are though, like, because I mean I've been to like other churches and people people get there. It seems like they just sit there all day and mingle out front. They never even go in, right? But you guys are more like all right, I got to be there at 9:30. You know, we'll get there around 9:30 kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I mean we try really hard to be there at like 9:29, Cody.
Still-
We
okay,
try
but-
really hard.
Okay, but I guess like, again, larger point. If I were to go to
Yeah.
a baseball game, I would love to get there at 6:30 for start to 7:10 to just lounge around for 40 minutes. But you guys don't like to get to the church early just to kind
No,
of like
'cause
hang
there's
out and
no-
greet people and do stuff. Because there's no reason. Is that
There-
it? Like,
yeah, there's no
nothing
really,
happens?
there's no
Okay.
reason. I mean, there might be some pianist or organist that's playing some prelude music, but I don't think it's starting more than 10 minutes early. Is it, Cardin?
No, yeah, they'll prelude for 10 or 15 minutes before. And then you sit down in your spot, and then the bishop, usually within 1 or 2 minutes of the start time, gets up and says, "Hey, welcome to Sacrament Meeting. We're going to start with an opening hymn."
Oh, I like
And then the hymn takes 3 to 5 minutes to sing. Usually all of the overachievers show up within that time. And then we're rocking and rolling 5 to 7 minutes in.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, just like, again, like just I have no idea what it's like, so I'm just kind of interested.
yeah.
So I think that is kind of interesting, and you guys look at it a little bit more like like I said, it's like a like you got your time, your slot. You show up on your time slot. You kind of do your duty, and then it's like. We're getting that. It isn't like just kind of like we're going to go mingle at the church for 15 hours today. You're like, we got our slot and we're going to hit it.
Yeah.
We're going to get through like you said, even like during the hymns, people kind of trickle in and stuff.
Yeah. But then once the sacrament starts, like, passing bread and water and that, the doors are closed. So you kind of stay out until that's over. And then they open the doors and you can come in.
Okay, cool.
For the people that are super late, it's never happened to me. I'm always there. But also, okay, so you know how like you said people have like their time that they like to get there? There's also a thing, Cody. People have their bench of where they want to sit.
Okay, so that's the other thing.
Yes.
It's the same people every week, right?
Yes.
Always the same people.
Yeah. So when you come to a new ward, like if you just moved in, it's always a little bit awkward because you're like, I'm going to sit here. Is this someone's bench that they've been sitting in for years? Like,
yeah, so how do you know?
or it's mine now. Like you stake the
People
land.
fight over it, bro.
But I mean, like,
they come to blows.
They do not. I'm just saying it is a thing though. It's like,
But how would you know? Like if it really
That's-
is just
yeah,
like
you don't
It's
know.
just like a couple feet of bench, right? Like there's no way to like know for sure, right?
yeah.
Especially, hold on. When you go every week, you know, right? Like, oh, they're always there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's no like. Okay, I get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's catch up with these super chats. Bird, keepers of the
Oh,
chats. Read the
okay.
super chat. You got we had a couple come up here. And we got to work on having the cool little ka-ching pull up the
Okay, you ready? Who
Here
do
we
you
go.
think it is?
Oh,
we already did cast bang bang.
Yeah, so who's
So-
next? So don't cheat. You got to tell
It's
me.
got to be Carolyn Wright Gaines music.
No.
Stephen Diamond
Yes,
about the Temple Rocks.
Stephen Diamond.
All right.
He
let's hit
says,
it.
almost missed this one. Almost missed Temple Rocks and the Priesthood Restoration site. You guys can bring Cody out too. Remember Mom's Fried Chicken?
Yeah.
Cody, we got to go have this guy's mom's fried chicken.
I'm good for fried chicken. I
yeah,
can do
see?
that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
What are
That's
the?
awesome.
Well, yeah. So hard, and then just quickly. So, again, so it's like I said, like a baseball game. They have like they sing. I guess similar. They sing the national anthem, and then after that, they have like first pitch at 7:10 or whatever,
Mhm.
and then like that's like the game is started now. If you come after
Yeah.
this, the game. So like you said, they do like they pass around the sacrament,
Yeah.
and then after that, it's kind of like we've started.
Yeah.
Um,
So, like, people will trickle in. Like, there's like an opening song.
Oh, yeah.
The bishop or whoever's conducting the meeting will get up, kind of tell you how the service is going to go. There's usually a prayer. That's when people are kind of trickling in. You're like, whew, we made it. And then the sacrament starts, and then doors are closed.
Cool. And then so from that point forward, kind of like what's the
You can
general-
come in. No, you can come in
Well,
late, but
no, I
the
get
protocol is usually you wait until after a speaker has
No,
finished his before a new one comes.
No,
in.
I get that. I'm not too concerned about. I was just curious again if it was the kind of thing like do people show up super early and just lounge about, or if it's more like a
If
kinda
they
like
do, they
business.
dutifully read their scriptures because it's all Christ centered. We all talk about Jesus there,
But hold
and they
on,
want to be
sorry.
more knowledgeable than the person next to him. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, but sorry, but my main question, I'm just kind of curious, like what is the general schedule like? Like your average Sunday, what's kind of like the order? That's more what I'm asking. Like, kind of like order of events, like what's to
Okay.
expect? Is it like wildly different Sunday to Sunday? Is it like, oh, that's this part of the thing?
No,
we do?
you pretty much know what to expect. Different speakers will happen, so it's never the same speaker. But like you get there, there's an opening song. All the songs, we have a hymn book, and it's up to the chorister and the pianist. They decide what songs to sing. So we
what
sing
are
a
the
song.
songs like?
Like
old school religious hymns?
it's like
It's
I don't know. Do you want to
actually
play some, Carden?
It's
like-
a
is it
pretty
like-
big.
is it like-
I don't know. I don't know how to like
But I'm
explain
saying, like,
the
is
music.
it like rock music? Do they have like
No.
an organ? Like
It's an organ.
A
It's usually
lot
an
of-
organ or piano.
a
Usually an
lot of-
organ.
A lot of traditional hymns. There's some old school Methodist ones.
okay, cool. That's
There's some more contemporary ones, but it's definitely not evangelical gospel rock.
well,
That's for
again,
sure.
I've seen the rock concerts. Some of them are pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Like as far as like just like anybody could just wander off the street and like
Every
you
once in
can
a while, if
catch-
you're lucky, Brandon Flowers will show up with the rest of the Killers,
Oh my
and
gosh.
they'll take over.
okay, this is an aside because I do want to get back to like just like
Yeah.
I'm curious with the actual schedule. But as an aside, how are they as far as like do Mormon like are they kind of like arm's distance with like the church, or are like the Killers like are they like involved in the church, or are they kind of like too big for that now and they're kind of like
The Killers?
yeah, like we're
I don't know much
independently-
about
No, Brandon's super active.
Okay, cool. I was just curious
Yeah.
if they're like really because I know it's funny. I mean, I live in Las Vegas now, and it's funny how they're probably one of the most famous bands from Las Vegas.
Yeah.
right now. Or I'm sure.
Same with Brandon Urie. He was from Vegas too, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Panic at the Disco.
I think so. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it's funny that they're like, of course, Mormon being that's like the only group of people that actually bother to live out in Vegas for a very long time. Apparently, like I'm saying, living out there, it's funny. Like there is like a lot of the Mormons are kind of people that like were more from like living out there in like the 80s and like early 90s and stuff. When it's like a lot have moved recently, but still that they seem to be more of like the older type. Because I don't know, living out here in Southern California, we've lived through a similar thing where like 30 years ago there was nothing, where there's just hills, like full hills of houses now. But
Okay, so I usually don't read chats from non-members of this channel
the non-members
or that aren't, super chatters. But there was one that was really funny. Justin Labar, you need to become a member of our channel or you need to super chat us now. But this one is actually really funny. He said, as a member of the High Council who was born in 1977, I take issue with this broad characterization of my kind. Perhaps that's true in Utah or California, but here in North Dakota, we rock. You know what? I'd be curious to see what North Dakota church is like.
I believe it, man. They probably get more. It's a lot of. That's one thing I wonder in general with California. And again, that's why I was asking if there's a lot of concentration of Mormons in just like densely populated states, right? But you guys probably get like when the more people you have in a state, the more. I guess this is going to sound really rude. I don't mean it that way. But the more average the average member is, right?
Yeah, probably.
Like the larger the pool of people, the less like you're gonna have like outliers, but it's like like most people are like basically like you said, like you have like you can describe or look at someone as like a California Mormon or a Utah Mormon, right? Because it's like they're pretty big areas, a lot of Mormons.
Well,
There's
all
a lot
dads.
of people, it's all kind of like falls in the middle at some point.
Well, it's also very family centric, and so dads from everywhere kind of look similar to dads from everywhere. So it is kind of you can peg them, dude. You'll get good at this,
But
Cody.
anyway,
You'll get good at this.
My only point was actually I would legitimately believe that the further you get away from the massive, densely populated areas in general, you just find more interesting people in general. I always feel that way. 'Cause
catch us up on the super.
Okay,
Brittany,
but we
say
need
something.
to take Cody to like Disneyland or something and be like, "Hey, spot a Mormon family, Cody."
Yeah.
Like he's gonna get super good at it. Like,
is it one of those things like you can't miss them after you see one? Or it's like,
yeah, it's just, they're gonna have kids. The dad's gonna have some kind of BYU hat or BYU shirt.
Like, okay, well, I guess BYU.
I mean, that's a dead giveaway.
Yeah, like I can already. I'll look at like in general. I'll be like watching something and I'll see someone like in a BYU.
I would
thing,
like
and
to
I'll
think
be
it's the light in their eyes.
Or I guess the other thing is, as a sports fan, the amount of like especially it happens a lot in football, a little bit mostly in football, where it's like a guy will get drafted, and normally guys get drafted in the NFL like 21, 20, right? And it's like, oh, rookie out of BYU, 27 years old. Because it's like they always go on like their mission and like do a bunch of stuff and then come back. And it's like, so they're always like, just like, yeah, I mean, they're rookies. But I mean, they're grown men, basically. They've been like, they're anyway. But it's funny, always at a BYU. Whenever I'm watching any sports thing, I hear about it. So-and-so went to BYU. There's some kids who are just go pro and I'm curious, actually. I wonder if those, like, for example, there's a couple, I think a kid starts for the Jets right now. I think he went to BYU.
Do you know? Let's look that up.
Zach Wilson, I believe is his name.
Bird, catch us up on the chats. We've had a couple people send us some super chats. If you guys have any questions for Cody here, he's a first timer that's going to go to church on Sunday, this Sunday.
I'm checking it out. Yeah,
as an absolute layman. Doesn't know what to do, but he's been friends with me for eons, and I said, Cody, you got to come to church as a layman and tell us what you think, bro. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. So,
I'm actually shocked, Cody. I'm shocked you told Carden yes.
I mean, like I said, I guess I don't mean this in like an insulting and rude way. Like, I would be open to pretty much checking out any. Like I said, I don't go to any specific church.
Wait till we
religion
sacrifice
myself,
a goat, bro. It's crazy.
I don't know.
No,
if you get like magic powers or something, like that's not. There's worse things, right?
There's worse things. Okay, here's a super chat. Chief of the Danites says, never start a talk with the dictionary defines X as. It's his pet peeve. He does not like that.
That's true. There was a lot of self-help books written in the 80s about how to be a better public speaker. And one of them said it's often a good icebreaker to define or say how a dictionary defines whatever the topic of your lesson is. So there was this trend for like 20 years where people would say Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines faith as, and dude, it's, yeah, that
is the most like
the most overused.
Not even overused.
Form of. It's
the most like there is not a thought behind those words.
No.
Where to start any kind of. Like, it's like I guess, man.
See, the funny thing is we can lampoon our own meetings, and we can talk about all the funny or the silly or the stupid and cringe things that happens, but you can't talk about the good spirit that happens until you experience it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You can talk about all the negative stuff, but it
wasn't-
actually is an uplifting experience.
I wasn't making fun of more. I guess that's just
Oh,
like
no,
a,
no.
It's like a general thing
I'm not
people
saying
do.
you are. I'm just saying a kind of funny-ism about talking about what it's like going to church is you can really explain all the cringe stuff very well, but you can't explain all the good stuff very well. And the good stuff has to be just experienced.
Well, also, I can kind of like infer a little, like, yeah, I can get it, but I'm more curious about the kind of more like, I guess the way I look at it is, I'm not, I'm not like a member of the faith. So I'm not like too worried about like, about like not being like Mormon enough. I just don't want to, like I said, I don't want to like sit in someone's bench or like wear a shirt that's weird. I just don't want to like come across as like a weirdo.
I won't let you sit in someone's
Yeah, that's what
bench.
I mean. Like I'm fine to just sit there and take the message and take it as it is. Like I'm not like
That's
worried
funny.
about like it like.
You know what we
But
should
I'm
do?
more like I don't want to like do things that are just like socially weird in the setting. I want to just kind of blend in best I can.
Okay, so the other thing is you have to walk into the building with your left foot first.
is that a real thing?
No, it's not.
No.
It feels like what's the word? It's like pedantic, I guess. Like it feels like silly enough where it's like you could ask people to do it, and they just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, we all do it. Like there's like a football thing where guys like stay with like a stadium, they'd like slap some like sign above them.
Yeah.
I
And
saw
it's like,
that in
I can
Rudy.
see people being like, that's silly. Why do we do this? It's like you just do it, whatever. You know?
Yeah.
I can see that being kind of like they wouldn't like push you back and like walk in again if you did it wrong, but it's just kind of like a tradition where people would do. I
Yeah.
would buy it.
Yeah.
So, dude, by the way, Chief of the Danites, like, that's a pretty hardcore YouTube name. Like, like, either he's a super zealous guy or just has a sense of humor. You know what I'm saying? So,
Okay, you ready for the next one?
all right, let's hit it.
W. Smith says Spanish ward is way cooler than English ward. If you think Mormon Standard Time is late, you haven't heard of Latino Mormon Standard Time. That is so true. We had a Spanish branch that met in our building. They would not change their time. You know how usually it's customary tradition where at the start of the new year, you kind of rotate your times, right? So not everyone gets 9 a.m. church all the time. The Latino would not change. They would not change their time.
Or else half of them wouldn't show up.
Yeah,
dude.
like they always had to be in the afternoon, and they had like a luncheon like every Sunday. I mean, they all brought their food, and I kind of want to be
Okay,
part of that
so
ward, to be honest.
It does sound like so. Like there is like some people at least kind of do more of like a hang around the ward all day kind of Sunday.
Yeah,
bring
so it's
food,
either
make a
called
thing
like a linger longer or break the fast.
Wow.
Because you guys went over,
Yeah.
talk about Fast Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So after your fast, then you say a prayer to like signify that like you're closing that out, and then you eat a meal together. It's actually one of my favorite Sundays. I love Fast Sunday because I like our ward gets together, not every month, but about every other month, and we have like a potluck together.
That's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Justin Labar just became a member. What's up? Welcome, Justin Labar.
Oh, because you
Thanks for-
told him to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, he said something funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And
then-
we reward funny here, keep going.
Well, I was just gonna say sorry. Quickly back. I just have a question, kind of. So, there is a young quarterback in the NFL who, I mean, he was born.
I'm going to
in
look him up.
Zach Wilson's his name. He was born in Utah. Went to
Oh, yeah,
BYU.
Zach Wilson.
So you know who that is?
Yeah, wasn't there some crazy scandal with Zach Wilson?
No, I mean, you
Like,
know who
was it
that
like
is.
his mom like going
can-
after kids on his team or
well,
something
no,
like
I mean,
that?
if you want
Or am I thinking of a different quarterback?
No, you got some of the facts backwards, but more or less something like that. But anyway, no. My larger question was though is that he went straight to the NFL. I'm pretty sure he went just college or high school, college, NFL. Like, I don't. My larger point is this: is it the kind of thing where if you have some kind of like, I guess like athlete or some kind of like immediate career thing, they'll let you like postpone your missionary work, or maybe he just isn't Mormon. I don't know. Is he just like not Mormon and he's just like from Utah? I don't know. My larger question is though, is it the kind of thing? Obviously, it's not as rigid as like the Korean military service, but you know, like there's like musicians and like athletes who just have to like give up whatever they're doing and go to the military.
Yeah.
Did the Mormons kind of like for missionary thing? Is it kind of like, well, no, you're going to do this for a few years right now, or can you kind of like postpone it and do it later?
So most of the major organizations that are used to dealing with young members of our church have made drastic accommodations for the mission. Like, for example, the U.S. military, they love members of our church because oftentimes they'll come already Eagle Scouts. So you'll actually have you'll be a private first class instead of just a regular private. If you have an Eagle Scout, it's kind of crazy, but you actually get one little rank higher.
It's like such a,
It's
one of those things where it's like people, and here's the thing, and just like full disclosure, I don't think it's as bad as people make it, but it is kind of funny to be like, oh yeah, if you do the Boy Scouts, they give you a little rank up in the Army. Like, why does that matter if I'm in the Boy Scouts as a little kid? What am I going to do in the Army?
Well, you would ideally be more proficient in much of the outdoorsmanship that might be required in infantry skills.
Yeah. Well, the larger thing is just kind of, it's a fun way to not like push kids into the military. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it is kind of funny where it's like, wait, why does he get to go up? Well, he was a Boy Scout. It's like, well, and like, what do you mean? Oh yeah, they get to just go up a little bit. It's like, what? Yeah, they just started earlier than you, I guess. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. It's a relic of a different time in this country. There's not a lot of people that want to go in the military anymore. So I think a lot of people now would be kind of weird to them.
Okay. So, anyway,
that was a bit of an aside.
Yeah, a little bit of an aside. But the organizations that are used to dealing with these young men make deep accommodations for the Mormon mission. In fact, the military, for example, they love it when guys go and serve because oftentimes they come back more mature. They've already done a service for 2 years. And also the church also makes deep accommodations for many of the more respected organizations as well. So, like, for example, one of the guys that I served with, Elder Storer, was a Marine Scout. And he was given the full 2 years to go off and serve his mission. Got the blessing from the Marines. They let lots of their Marines go and just defer their service. You don't get any kind of pay deduction or any kind of rank deduction if you're going to go serve for the LDS Church. And simultaneously, when his unit ended up getting deployed 4 or 5 months early, he said, I'd like to deploy with my unit that I trained with. The LDS Church said, okay, cool. We have deep respect for those that want to serve their country in the military. So they actually gave him an honorable discharge 4 months early so he could go and deploy with his unit. And so oftentimes
the inverse, though, like I said, I mean, I don't. Maybe this kid isn't Mormon, but I'm just wondering, like, will they allow there to be kind of like extenuating circumstances? And then again, if you're like a musician and like you're about to go on some big tour, like this, like will they let you kind of like push your missionary work
famously, back? David Archuleta had a modified mission in which he was.
And they don't force you to go on a mission, like
it's all voluntary.
Okay, so this kid could have just said no. Just I'm going to play football in the NFL.
Like a lot of the hot chicks get called to serve in the Temple Square mission because the church, wants to put on the prettiest face forward.
I don't know if that's a thing. Is that a thing?
Look at the chicks that get called to serve in the Temple Square mission. They're
maybe.
all gorgeous.
I haven't been there in a long time. I don't know.
Anyway, but by and large, if you're just a regular guy like me who's big, able-bodied, had no physical problems, and they thought could survive the rigors of some of the more difficult areas, you're probably going to get sent to one of those difficult areas.
Well, no, I get
I was called Elder Capital for 6 months of my mission because unlike the other guys from some of the more rural areas or from Utah, I was fine just being in the hardcore center of like the worst districts in Buenos Aires. Other guys couldn't handle it and they'd have to get shipped out to like the rural areas that are a little bit safer, but I was just fine with my 6 foot lugging butt just walking through like the ghettos of Argentina, and they're like,
sure
okay.
People, like, I'm like, whatever areas you frequented, I'm sure they obviously like. There's no way no one noticed like the giant white guy dressed in a suit.
They thought I was German.
Oh, I wonder why.
Well, there's a lot of Germans in Buenos Aires.
I know that. I mean, I wonder why. When? Like a couple hundred years they've been there. They come over in Napoleon times? Is that when they started?
Actually, yes. It was the famine of the turn of the century that made a lot of German families move there so that they had multi-generational wealth and families waiting for them. By the time those bad people that we don't mention on YouTube had to escape and have a soft landing.
Well, actually, this is a total aside. We don't have to get too far into it. But
yes, they were in my mission.
Well, no. It's just something I think is interesting that's not talked about a lot, just about Brazil. I don't know why we're talking about Brazil now, but... I thought was fascinating, though, a little bit, is the fact they obviously speak Portuguese instead of Brazilian or Spanish.
You can thank the Pope for that.
Well, no, but I didn't realize this, even though it's obvious, that they rebelled and basically, fought from independence from the Portuguese. I don't know, just one of those things when I heard that story, I was like, well, that does make a lot of sense why they speak Portuguese instead of Spanish, but I just never thought of it that way. It's like, oh, yeah, like this massive country of Brazil fought for independence.
Isn't it wild? How
they did.
Yeah, isn't it wild how some of these huge empires that literally still have worldwide footprints were such small places? Like the Dutch.
The Kingdom of the Netherlands?
Yeah. Like you look at the Dutch and it's not even as big as like LA County, their entire country, you know?
But they got Curacao.
Yeah, but they straight
Right?
up.
It's in Curacao. Trying to think, because wait, no, I'm thinking, the Kingdom of the Netherlands.
Well, England is a small little tiny island.
Oh, yeah.
Portugal, it's Portugal's a drive-through.
Oh, sorry.
You know?
No, my larger point was like there's some like Netherlands still has territories.
Well, yeah. Well, so does Portugal. So does
Yeah,
Spain.
that's
So
okay.
does
Isn't
like,
that
yeah.
funny?
I'm sorry. How did we get here?
We're talking about South America for some point, and it got
Yeah.
sidetracked. But
Okay.
it kind of ties in, and I guess back to my initial point. So, for like entertainers, athletes, people that do actually have kind of like a ticking clock on their career and kind of need to go now, they can kind of say like, "Hey, sorry, church, I'd love to go on my mission right now," but like,
Some have, like Steve Young famously didn't serve a mission and
oh,
just
Steve
went.
Young's Mormon
Yeah, Steve Young's Mormon.
quarterback. Wow.
Yeah, the QB.
We were talking about this earlier.
You ready
Why-
to convert now?
Well, I mean,
Look at Brittany.
I'm not
Look
like-
at your eyes.
I'm not
They're
like
all down
ready
like,
to
"You gonna do it now, bro?"
but to that point larger though, I do wonder why the Mormon church isn't a little bit more kind of like loud and proud about like famous people. Because again, like nobody, like there is some like little bit stigmas of like Mormons being kind of like weird, kind of more of like
There's a lot of celebrities too that grew up Mormon. Did you know that?
no.
I guess we should say growing up members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Paul Walker.
Oh, very cool. R.I.P.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling. I'm pretty sure.
Hey,
that.
you know what? Just looking at him now, it makes sense.
Yeah.
He looks Mormon.
What does that mean, Cody?
I don't know, but just when you said that, thinking that
Terribly
way-
handsome and charismatic.
Sure, yeah.
Katherine Heigl.
Don't claim her.
Um,
But sorry,
Don't worry, we don't, Doc. No, I'm just kidding.
But my larger point was though, it does seem like the kind of thing that again, like it's not like, oh, I'm gonna drop everything and join the church now, but it's like seeing people like no one looks at Steve Young as like some conehead, right? Like people look
Right.
at him like,
No.
oh, he's just a guy that was a quarterback. 'Cause people like again, when you told me that he was Mormon, I was like, what? I had no idea. And I think-
Especially in the arts, like Mormons are big time into like their training their children traditionally and how to like play the piano, how to sing, how to so on and so forth. So that's why oftentimes we get a lot of vocalists that will have Mormon heritage. Also, Polynesian culture is super vocal and it's pretty rad. But there's entire Polynesian congregations. Like down in Long Beach and other parts of Los Angeles, you show up there, the opening hymn is like 4-part harmony, Mormon Tabernacle Choir, awesome. And I think Brandon Urie, he's famously like a quarter Polynesian or half Polynesian or something like that as well. Same with that, yeah, like we talked about Brandon Flowers from the Killers, the Neon Trees, the Neon Trees guy before he went inactive.
I just mean
was
more like
so on and
larger,
so
just
forth.
just the idea that it's like, I mean, I guess I don't really know how.
And that's just North American culture.
Ooh,
bro.
also, Cody, have you seen this 80s movie Teen Witch? Have you seen that?
Which
I think it's 80s actually.
no, but I mean, it's like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. But
Okay, so that's Robin Lively, who's Blake Lively's older sister. She's still LDS. And you know who she's married to? Coach Bolton from High School Musical.
I didn't watch.
Ah,
Was that a Mormon show?
no, but it was just really cool.
High School Music, that's Zac Efron, right?
Yeah,
But I
so
mean,
his basketball coach is married to Robin Lively, so I'm thinking they're both members because I know Robin is.
Ah, that's cool. Rock
Yeah.
on.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of weird when you go to church down in like Burbank and Los Angeles. Like
guess,
people you see on TV all the time. It's like, oh, hey, what's up, bro?
No, so our daughter, Elizabeth, she had gymnastics at the same place with
Oh, yeah.
Napoleon Dynamite's
Yeah, dude.
daughter. I remember I was in the stands and I looked over and I was like, it's
Yeah,
Napoleon
he was
Dynamite.
He was at our steak before he moved out. That was
hold
kind
on.
of funny.
But again, all the stuff I'm talking about, right? Like, and I understand it's weird for like, you know, all religions like necessarily like boasting about like, but it is weird that it's like, again, like,
We don't boast enough, bro.
yeah, like from like the outside, from an outsider's perspective, there is like a little, not like a massive stigma, but Mormons are looked at as kind of like one of like the weirder like Christian sects, right? But it's like all of these like just really normal, famous celebrities that are just like,
We're just misunderstood, Cody.
well, I mean,
Well, also boomers that run our
Remains to
faith
be
kind of
seen.
have confused.
Okay, stop. Okay,
They've
stop.
confused suburban niceness for kindness, and they've also confused quietness for modesty. And I think you don't have to be loud and proud or to be boastful, but I think it's okay to say like, hey, look, you know, here are good works. And, you know, somebody that's doing something that's of good report and praiseworthy, I think is worth being highlighted, not just to boast, but also to say, hey, we did it, so can you. And we lack that. We do lack that.
Okay,
And
well, we
it's a
got to get to
cultural
some super
problem. Yeah, let's
chats.
hit the super chats.
Okay, Rex Good. My favorite. He
What's up,
says,
Rex?
I'm not on the High Council, but my talks are still riveting.
yeah, I
All right.
I believe it.
Rex, go for it, dog. You should be on the High Council. Rex for High Council 2024. Hit it.
There you go. Chief of the Danites again says, please do not take him, Cody, to fast and testimony meeting for his first time. You'll scare him away.
Is that
I don't think it's that
Is
bad.
that what's on Sunday?
Yeah, that's like, stand-up night, where everyone
Oh
anyone
my
can go
gosh.
up.
Fast and testimony is. Wait, what's the
No,
date today?
I don't think so because we did ours before General Conference.
Oh, yeah. You're
So
right.
I don't think it is this. Even though technically it should be this Sunday. I don't think it is.
I would have nothing. I mean, yeah, that would be weird. I'd
Yeah.
be just standing there like, I'd be trying to smile, I guess. I don't know.
I would literally be like, Cody, it's your turn. All the new people have to go up.
Oh,
Cody,
that
go up."
happened to me once. Did I tell you that?
No.
Oh, wildly spiritual experience. I was down in the LA First Ward, all right, which is a singles ward for people that go to USC and UCLA, and as well as a lot of actors and fashion people that are staying in Los Angeles. It's got pretty wide boundaries for pretty much everybody that's in LA proper in Hollywood, right? So I was down in the LA First Ward. Okay, and what was crazy was that church building is right on Santa Monica Boulevard, right behind the temple, okay? And a girl comes in and she sits down in the front row. People are filing in, and before you know it, there's about 100 of us. Sing the opening prayer, and fast and testimony meeting starts. And what happened was, oftentimes as people are waiting for the person who's speaking to get done and then leave back to where they were sitting, people will come and they will sit in the first row in order to just respectfully wait, right? Well, what happened was one of those people gets up and talks, and then the person next to her gets up and talks, and there was this young man who was sitting there that goes up and then he talks. And the first two people bear their testimonies, the regular members of the ward that we recognize, and so on and so forth. But then this young Asian man gets up and he says, I don't know why I'm supposed to be here, but I just have been searching for a deeper meaning, and I want to get to know God, and I don't really know my purpose in life, but I saw it was my turn to speak, so I don't really know what to say, but if any of you guys can help me out with that, I'd like to know if there's something deeper to life. And he just starts asking these beautiful and profound questions. And he had thought that because he was sitting in the front row and the other two people had gone up to speak, he thought it was just his turn, that he'd accidentally waited in line and was violating some kind of social norm by not giving his testimony. And he gets up and he gives this just beautiful, beautiful plea to the universe to help him find the deeper meaning of life. And we're like, boy, man, you are in the right place, brother. But it was one of the coolest, most spiritual experiences I've ever had in life. Just seeing a child of God say, I want to learn more. And it was because he thought it was his turn to speak, because he'd come in and just sat in the first seat that was open in the front row. It was hardcore and it was awesome.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, so.
Okay, ready for the good go on?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Strategy Page just donated. Thank you, Strategy Page.
Yeah, what's up?
You already mentioned Justin Labar is now a member.
Okay, rock on.
Strategy Page, another donation. Thank you. I hope he is not trying to say something in the chat and I'm not seeing it.
Okay, cool. Do we have any other super chats?
Yes, Stephen Diamond. He
Whoop,
says,
whoop.
the church outside of the Mormon Belt is different in a good way, in my opinion. You will find some of the most spiritual and also the most crazy people here.
That's what I was saying, right?
Sounds like a good time.
You get out of the areas with a lot of people, and there's less people, so the average gets a little bit more skewed by the extremes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then Danny Gray says, get Cody to go 3 weeks in a row. If he's not baptized by then, he might be engaged.
Oh, that's true. Cody, we got to get you a girlfriend, bro. Mormon chicks are the bomb, dog.
It's starting to sound like a bribe now. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what, Cody, dog, I can't think of a better guy in the world. You are more chaste and more moral than I am as just a layman.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're more just not goody two shoes, but just you're more hey, morality matters, and this is the moral code that I've chosen, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
We got to get you off the sauce, but other than that, you know what I'm saying? You're
what are you talking about?
I'm just kidding with you. So just the lifestyle you live, dog. You're just ready to have a hot Mormon wife and be a dad of 3. You know, like boom,
And go to Disneyland.
and go to Disneyland.
Yeah,
You know,
wow, that's a lot.
so I'm telling you, we're and when you meet the
Just
right
like
one, bro,
that.
watch out, dude. Watch out. It's addicting, man.
All right, well, I mean,
So anyway,
I-
Okay, right?
hit
Oh.
it.
Were you gonna say something, Cody?
I said I will not be bribed.
Okay.
You won't be bribed. Watch, there's some like super hot blonde chick that just comes up and is like, well, who are you? I don't recognize you. And it's like some daughter of one of the boomers on our board that's just visiting, and then Cody falls in love. That would be absolutely hilarious. You saw it all here first.
Is there like a Mormon Hallmark or like a Mormon Lifetime channel?
That does sound like a Hallmark movie, doesn't it?
It does. My mom used to love watching them, and it was. You know what's funny? It's like Hallmark movies. It's just kind of like small town Christmas forever.
Yeah.
Like, it never ends. And then like every Lifetime movie is just like there's a mysterious man, and he's not who he says he is.
Yeah.
That's basically just like every. I was like, oh, sorry.
But they're so great.
It's actually funny that you say that, because there was a movie filmed at my parents' house. I helped negotiate the location deal for my parents' house, and they filmed the movie Killer Contractor about a guy who didn't pretend to be what he was,
okay,
and it
well-
was sold to Lifetime.
I'm not like that. Isn't like a joke. Like legitimately, that is the premise of the majority of their property. Is that there is a man in the story. He's not who he says he is. He's something wrong with him, and that's basically. I mean, it's like it's a pretty basic, like jumping off point for a story. One of our characters isn't who they say they are, but yeah, that is the constant. But I guess getting back to like that was kind of a joke, but like realistically, is there like Mormon like film production? Like is there like a
Well, there's
Mormon
BYU TV.
But I mean, like, that's like, like not like denigrating a college network, but I mean, like, as far as like beyond that, like something
I would say
like a Mormon
it's
Lifetime, like
more.
legitimately, like,
BYU TV is more than just a college network. It's how a lot of members watch General Conference.
no, but I mean, like, but I mean, like yeah, like you said, it's how members watch General Conference. I'm talking about like something that like just exists, and it tells stories that are obviously mostly interesting to Mormons, but it isn't like 1,000% like tied to the church. Like, I mean, just like general.
No, and actually, Ward Radio, we're kind of aspiring to fulfill
Okay.
that niche. I'm not kidding you.
I believe
There's
that,
a
yeah.
market that is underserved, and that's independent Mormon media, independent member media.
Well, that's
shall
what
we
I'm
call it.
saying. Well, I mean, even it's just as far as like, I don't know, because I, as somebody who's not very religious, I am very turned off by like the very like preachy media. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
it's like sermon dressed up in like a movie. It's like what?
Yeah.
But as far as like just like general, like there's a lot of like interesting things I've seen before that are obviously faith based. I mean, I don't know, top of my head, it's kind of hard to pull like the example I'm thinking of, but there's stuff I've seen before, and it's just, I mean, even stuff like I guess I don't know you guys' opinion on this now that I think about it.
Ask
But I was
us.
gonna say even like Passion of the Christ and stuff like that are kind of more of like almost like
I still haven't seen it. Mel Gibson's flick. I still haven't seen
you've
it.
still
Bro.
never seen Passion of the Christ. So I guess
No.
so that wasn't so because I remember when that movie came out, it was like a global phenomenon. I mean, like people are going. In the
Okay.
Mormon church, was it not really like
It came out when I was on my mission.
Well, and it was rated R.
okay? But it doesn't matter. It's the circumstances. But I was just wondering if it was just for whatever reasons. Because again, I don't know that much about like the various different sects of Christianity and stuff. I was just wondering if it was just kind of like maybe that was more of like a because I believe Mel Gibson's like Catholic, right?
I think so. I don't
think
know.
so.
So I wonder if that was just kind of like a more like Catholic telling of the story that you guys just weren't as like.
I'll have to
totally
check it
wild
out. But
over.
I remember people talking about it when I was on my mission.
I remember
served
people
between,
saying like it was super graphic.
Well, it's
And
gory.
so it was just like, I don't know if I want to like see that. Like, I think that's why a lot of people
this is
didn't
why
want to.
it came out in 2004, and I served from 2002 to 2004.
But
yeah,
I mean,
so it
even
came out
just
while I was on my mission. That's why I
in
didn't
the
see it.
year since, like, is it something that like is that something that ever comes up? Was it like because I mean, like I know like around like some churches that movie was like. I mean, like for like a decade, people talked about it, or it's just kind of like the way your church.
I
views
don't remember
things,
a
like you
lot of
said,
people talking about it.
if it's like gory and you guys are just kind of like, we know what happened to Jesus, we don't have to watch movies. It's kind
Yeah.
of more like that.
Oh, it says Monica Bellucci was Mary Magdalene. Okay, that's interesting.
That movie actually, it was like a very fascinating movie. One, because again, I'm younger than you, so like I was very young when the movie came out, and it's funny because afterwards, I know Jim Caviezel or whatever the actor, I don't know how you pronounce his name. Anyway,
Caviezel? That's
Yeah.
what I've heard.
he kind of like his career kind of slowed afterwards. I think I've heard him say in interviews part of it was like he had like big health complications filming the movie and was like kind of blackballed, so it was like hard for him to work anyway. I guess I didn't forget I was a child. I never realized he had like a very legitimate film career leading up to that. Like he was a legit actor in like big movies, working with big actors, and then he did that, and then he kind of like fell off a cliff. I mean, again, total aside, but I just didn't really realize that as much until recently, where I was like, oh wow. But I think that is kind of funny and interesting. Where I know like amongst like some like Christian like groups, like that movie was like, oh my god, like, and it seems like with you guys, you're like. Your reaction of like, I never really saw it. Like that tells me it's like, that you did not have the similar impact of this film that I've heard other people have the impact of the film. Like, I meant to get around.
They're
to
down with The Chosen. Lots of Mormons are super
I
down
love
with The Chosen.
Okay, maybe it was just a time. Maybe back then the church was a bit different. They weren't as big into like.
Yeah. So, guys, we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. Hopefully in the next 11 minutes.
Wrap up. Hold on. So,
well, no, not wrapping up now. I'm just going to give a reminder that you got to give us our super chats. If you got any burning questions for Cody or anything like that, we usually try and read some funny member comments. Or if you want us to read something on air, give us a super chat. Also, let this be the moment, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, that we earn your subscription. We also need to see if the subscription marker works on our Streamlabs. You know what I said? I haven't seen one come up.
I think I turned that one off.
You did?
Have to just click it on and hit save.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you haven't liked this video yet, please make sure you like it. It helps boost us in the algorithms. And also, if this could be the day that we earn your subscription, please let this be the day that we earn your subscription. And send us any questions that you have in a super chat. We'll do our best to read them on air. Brittany, continue and catch us up with the super chats.
Okay. So Minor Prophet Ian Malcolm says, Fox 13 Salt Lake, a man was arrested outside a church in Plain City on Sunday after authorities said an argument over seat saving in the pews escalated to a fist fight in the parking lot and another man being hit by a car.
Okay, so it does.
Wait,
No, that's got to be fake. That's not real.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm literally looking this
Fox
up
13,
right now.
Look it up. I believe it. People fight over all kinds of dumb stuff. Why won't they fight over seats?
Okay.
That's my seat. No, that's my seat. I mean, there we go.
Yeah.
They're off, you know?
To fight about seat saving. Where was it? In White Plains, New Mexico?
No,
What?
Plain City. I think it's fake. I don't think it's a real thing.
Plains City. Look, I just pressed enter right now. We're going to see. Oh my gosh.
It feels real.
Police arrest a man after fight. Here it is. Babe.
Really?
That feels
Look,
real.
I'm going to put it on the screen so everybody can see. I have to read.
What in the world?
Yeah.
Okay, so here it goes. I just looked this up.
I believe that because it's like seat saving is really annoying because think about it. You walk in and you see like a seat open and you walk over there and someone just says no. It's like, what do you mean no? It's an open seat.
And the public shame you feel in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also, it's like, who are you to tell me no? Especially, you know, it's like, who's he, Jesus? You can't just tell me no, I can't sit here.
So look, this is what the article says. Holy crap, I can't believe this. It says, deputies said it began with an argument before sacrament services over, quote, seat saving. The bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Meadows Ward, told Fox 13 it was an unusually packed meeting. More than 400 people were in attendance for a missionary's farewell and a baby blessing. So I'm going to click on the article, and here it is. Police arrest man.
How funny is that, though? Like you said, they were there to like send somebody. Oh, a baby! We're baptizing a baby. And people
What
were getting-
state is this in?
Look, let me see. It says...
Utah.
It's in
Plain
Utah?
City, Utah.
Yeah, Plain City. So is that what you mean by Utah Mormons?
I wasn't meaning that.
Yeah.
That's a little extreme.
You know what I mean? They'll fight over. I don't know though. I mean, like you said, it's packed. You're trying to find a seat. Someone just tells you no, you can't sit here. Like I can see it starting a fight.
Oh my gosh, guys!
Who could hit with a car
listen
though?
to this.
Yeah, the car is what I was
Listen
interested
to this.
in.
There were some seats that were allegedly saved, and there was a disagreement. This continued to escalate throughout the day. The argument continued outside to the parking lot where punches were thrown. One man went inside to clean himself up and returned and was then struck by a car. He ended up on the hood of the car, he said. We did an investigation. There was conflicting stories, but according to witness accounts, there was enough probable cause to make an arrest for an aggravated assault.
I have a question about this.
Oh my gosh.
So in the where does the church? I mean, I guess the fact that the police showed up and took reports, like what is? Because it actually kind of sounds like
There were
honestly,
probably 5 or 6 cops in the ward
But okay, that's my question, right? It's like
at
so
church that day.
maybe they like saw it happen and somebody was very aggressive, right? But it's like, at what point do people in the ward or whatever like when the police ask for statements, like how do you decide? Did I not see anything, or do you like the police?
Nah,
asked,
Mormons don't circle the wagons, man.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's just kind of like You know what?
I wish they did more.
But I'm saying, so like everyone would just kind of like give their honest test. Like you said, they had conflicting testimonies, so obviously people did have friends. But still, at the end of the day, it's not like we'll handle this ourselves. It's kind of like, hey man, you screwed up.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna like lie to them. Like you did what you did.
No. Yeah, I feel like Mormons are really honest. I feel like they would just give their statement.
Because it is interesting, like like a fight at the church and the police come and take a statement. Like that's kind of like a little moral quandary, I guess, a little bit, right? Like, how does the church react? Do they tell people like, hey, let's keep this in house? Do they kind of say like, just tell them what you saw, man? Or do they say like, come on, like that guy didn't deserve it? Or is it just kind of like, if you go to prison for some attempted assault with a vehicle, so be it, man. Like whatever. I know what happened in our church, but. That is a bizarre situation. I guess
I've never been in that experience before, so I don't know how people would react. That was crazy. I thought that was fake for sure.
Funny. That's pretty funny.
Okay,
all right.
Sorry. Before I want to just quickly. So, we roll in close to the starting time of church.
Yes.
So I guess that's what all the cool people do. You kind of get there,
Yep.
It's like almost like fashionably late. Like you don't want to be there you don't want to be like 10 minutes early. You kind of want to sneak in like around. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked. Then they do. You said about a few minutes of hymns, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sacrament, and then it's like
A prayer.
and then it's like we're going.
Yep.
What is that? Like what happens?
The sacrament.
No, like after that. Like when what is church? Like do they?
Okay, so then
Is
there's
there
gonna
a play?
be
Like what happens?
no, but
A
if
play?
I tell you there's a play, is that gonna be more enticing?
Depends.
No, so then there's going to be like usually like a youth speaker. So someone between the ages of 12 and 18 is going to give up and do like a 3 to 5 minute talk.
Okay.
Maybe there's one, maybe there's two of those. Then there's going to be an adult speaker. Maybe one, maybe two. There's no really. So you'd have probably like 3 to 4 speakers, I would say.
Okay.
Then you're going to have a closing hymn, closing song, and a closing prayer. And that's it. That's sacrament meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's songs, prayers, talks, and the actual sacrament.
Well, okay, and then sacrament only lasts about an hour, and then there's a second hour of church. We all get like a 5 to 10 minute break where people socialize for a second, and then
so
they
things
go to
like-
their respective Sunday schools. Sunday school is based upon generally age, so all the children go to primary. If you're 11 and below, then you get divided up by age, and then the adults are divided by gender. The women will go to Relief Society, the men will go to Elders Quorum, or on the even months, the men will go to Sunday school for
even weeks, you mean?
or
right?
even weeks. Sorry, the men will go to Sunday school based on age, whereas the ones that are leaders for like the youth will go with their respective youth ages, and then maybe teach them that class there. So so it's 2 hours of church, bro. 1 hour of the general meeting, 1 hour of the Sunday school meeting. That's it.
And the first meeting, you're sitting with your families, your friends, you're all together.
All right, cool. And then so where would I go, for example?
Yeah, you'll just go with me.
You'd go with Carden.
Okay, and then that's just
You
like
go with the dudes.
and that's just like a separate, just kind of
Yeah,
like lecture.
and then they
Yeah.
usually like.
You have your brandy and cigars, and you talk about horse racing.
Oh, cool. Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
He's like, I'm in, dude.
That kind of church would probably attract a lot of people.
That's funny. All right, catch us up on the super chats. Brittany, keeperess
Okay.
of the chats.
Oh, sad. My dad's calling me right now, and I have to hang up on him because I'm live streaming. That's
sad. Yeah.
Okay. I think I left off on strategy page.
Yep.
He says, since you're not a boomer, you didn't have to live through talks from especially for Mormons.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I heard about that. I do believe it was a magazine publication by the church officially, but I don't remember. Okay.
Okay, next one. Justin LeBar.
Yeah.
North Dakota was supposed to be Zion. Brother Brigham didn't have the grit to make it here. It's okay, though. He was still a prophet. Great show, guys.
Thank you, Justin
Is that
LeBar.
some more like regional beef?
No, that was a joke because they were going west, and then technically South Dakota would have been north. So
That's what I mean. Like, are like the Dakotas Mormons like looking down on?
there's
like, the
only
Utah?
800,000 people in South Dakota. I don't even think they hit 1 million. So if there's 1% of the population that is a member of the church, that means there's 8,000 of their tops. If 25% are showing up to church, that means there's like $2,000 in the entire. There's as many people in
Wait.
our state here as are in the entire state that are members of the church, most likely
Well,
in South Dakota.
Using some
Although actually, I
kitchen
would.
table math. But hold on. Would you say a quarter of members of the church actually going to church is about like the
Regularly, yes. They're what are called active members.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. So
And then there's like semi-active people that are kind of wishy-washy about attendance. It is probably another 10% to 15%. And then probably I'd say half of the people that you see that at one point in their life were baptized don't necessarily come anymore. There's some people also there where maybe their parents were members and baptized them as a child, but in their adult life they've never showed up to a single church. Now they're on our rolls, so in case there's an emergency, we can check in on them. They appreciate being on the rolls because every once in a while they get, checked in on and stuff like that. Every once in a while there's like a cranky Exmo anti-Mormon who's like, "Don't talk to me." You know what I'm saying? And you just kind of put a note on there that's like, okay, this guy's cranky. We don't want to talk to him. But
and it's less cookies to make.
yeah,
so.
less cookies to make. But, we'll send invitations to everybody that's on our roll. For example, for like the Christmas service or the Easter service, or if there's a natural disaster, we'll actually call and make sure everybody on the roll, doesn't need somebody to help them turn their gas off or get fresh water. My family was very prepared during the Northridge quake by having fresh water. My dad, my entire childhood, I should say, would always refill up the 2-liter soda bottles with a couple of drops of chlorine bleach. He'd put the Teflon tape on the top, and then he'd seal it shut again and store it inside of our garage just for years. And so we finally had an entire wall of just like emergency prepper water. So when the water mains burst, there was actually we were able to give out entire 2-liter bottles. Like all the families that needed to make like baby formula still, and they didn't have tons of water. But Dad's like, "Oh yeah, I'll bring over some 2-liter bottles." And so we were like delivering to people on the list, and our entire congregation, within 4 hours of that earthquake happening, just through everybody knowing where the people that they would visit or live closest to them was, our bishop knew the safety and security of every family after the Northridge quake within 4 hours, and he was able to actually direct people to go help have the adult men go help people that needed to move out of their house emergency style because FEMA was going to come and condemn the home and not make it so people could enter. There was a big problem of worrying about looting back in those days.
I
So
get that. Sorry, just my original point though is kind of is that's really interesting to me. So like your average Mormon just doesn't. I mean, they go to church, I'm assuming sometimes, but like your average Mormon doesn't go every Sunday.
No, yeah, they do. Your average active one goes pretty much
but
every
again,
Sunday.
like if you not saying active, right? Just across the rolls, your average Mormon, if 25% go every Sunday, right? Then your average one doesn't.
I think most people go. It's the minority that don't. Wouldn't you say?
No,
Average,
it's hard to say. Well, what constitutes Mormon? Because, like, for example, just because somebody was blessed as a child and is sitting on our rolls as a member of record, because in 1989 they were blessed because their parents had attended church for a couple of years, but then dropped out, and they may not even realize that they were blessed in the Mormon church.
So I guess
I don't know if that counts as a member.
To rephrase it, there is a legitimately large member of people that are members of the church and just don't go every Sunday.
That are official members that don't attend. Yes, I'd say it's 50%.
So, I mean, it's close to it. Anyway, I think it's interesting. Again, and I don't mean this like in an offensive way, but from an outsider perspective, there's more of a kind of like I would have expected that number to be much higher. So
but those people also in conversation wouldn't self-identify as Mormons.
Okay, I guess I was kind of just say it's kind of interesting, and I don't think it's like bad. I think it's kind of cool that there's a lot of people that it's like they don't. It's like it's like the. Kind of gets back to I was asking you earlier about if Mormons like football, right? But it's like the old thing. Well, I could be close to God on a golf course just as I can in the church, right? Where it's like there are people that like legitimately are like they consider themselves members of the church, right? Like you wouldn't like say like, oh, you're not actually one of us. You'd recognize them as members, and they just don't go every Sunday, but they try to make it when they can. Like that's like a big group of people.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a big group though. Would you, Carden?
Of people that what?
Of that like are members but don't routinely come. I feel like that's the minority.
Anybody in an area that's going to self-identify as Mormon is most likely active.
But I mean, like, I'm talking about like 3 out of 5 weeks they go. I'm not saying like you never go. You go
if you're generally active, you're most likely going every Sunday. If you're inactive, you're most likely not going every Sunday.
So I guess that's the difference. I guess
there's no real middle ground.
Okay, so that makes sense. So there is no real like average person who goes.
We haze you in the parking lot if you miss 2 out of 3, and that usually scares people.
Well, sorry, I'm curious about the overall like just the overall
like commitment.
Yeah, and just the idea of like because again, like I guess from an outsider's perspective, there's a bit of kind of like a, Mormons are a bit more I don't say like strict, but like I would assume that it's like oh yeah, like every Sunday, like 7-8 hours, like, we go. But if it's like, no, like there's a lot that go, but it's like a couple
I would say
hours.
most people go
Yeah.
routinely.
But I guess this kind of gets back to what we were saying earlier. They get there, you know, like if it's a 9:30 start, they get there like 9:30, 31, 32. Okay. Yeah, so
Give or take
okay,
10
so
minutes.
that's more, I guess, kind of what I was saying. Where,
Okay.
yeah, it's not like these people are like, oh, well, you got to get there like at 8:30 to be ready. It's like people are kind of more
No,
relaxed.
people are relaxed. They'll show up every Sunday, but it's relaxed.
Yeah.
I don't.
like they take their faith seriously, but at the same time, it's not like a military, right?
We
Like,
probably should take it a little bit more seriously, actually.
I was legitimately surprised when I heard that you guys were like, yeah, we kind of like, you know, if it's really early, it might be a little late. Like, I was like, wow. I figured it was like, people are like, doors, like, you know, if doors open 8:30, they're there at 8 lining up. But
yeah, no.
that's funny.
We're
Okay.
walking in like 8:33.
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
Okay, again, from an outside perspective, you know, as someone who's not like super religious, I prefer to hear that as opposed to it's like, you guys like,
Oh, good. We're doing our job.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but like, you know, like I wouldn't have been surprised if you guys were like, well, you know, like 8:30 is when it starts, but like if you're there at 8:30, they're gonna look at you weird. Like I thought it might have been more, which I guess I mean it seems like more of like a laid back and kind of like understanding atmosphere, and less because legitimately the one thing I'm worried about going to like any real like kind of like religious or any kind of like really social thing, I don't really care what they do there. I just don't want to like I was telling Carter, I don't want it to be like an Eyes Wide Shut where it's like I walk in the room and everyone just stops and turns and looks at me and they're like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? I just want to be able to kind of like blend in a little bit. Like have
You'll blend in.
like
You'll
people,
blend in.
like, they'll be like, I don't recognize that person, but it won't be like outsider. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
it's not like that.
Okay.
No.
I have to look this up. Eyes Wide Shut. I've never seen that movie. I know it was the last Stanley Kubrick film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But Eyes Wide Shut. What's the scene called where they all just stare at him?
It's like basically they're like in costumes and they're in some like, you know, like Illuminati meeting, and like he walks into the room and just all the costume people just stop and turn to him like they recognize he's not actually supposed to be there.
Okay, is it this scene right here?
Don't show it, but
There.
just because it's like multiple minutes long and it's from a movie and it'll probably get the Doll Stream flag.
No, I turned the sound off, and it's usually the sound that nukes it.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely not like that.
Well, I mean,
Cody's wondering if it's
this is obviously
Eyes Wide Shut.
I didn't mean like literally, but I just mean in the sense that it's like there's a large group of people.
Yeah,
that
you got to wear a
obviously-
Phantom of the Opera mask, bro.
Well, no, I didn't mean. I meant in the sense that a large group of people who would like the minute I walked in, like turn and just be like, "Oh no, you're not. You don't belong here." Like I said, as long as it's not like that, I really don't care.
No.
I'm pretty open and I'll pretty much roll with anything else. So that was my larger concern.
Most people are trying to keep their kids quiet and
yeah,
getting out snacks and coloring
Yeah,
books.
you're gonna
and-
feel like you just walked into a YMCA general ed meeting.
Okay, cool. That's again. Like I'm kind of happy to hear that. It's more laid back. It's more like people are gonna be.
Okay, we are already in overtime. We're gonna have
Okay,
to
let's
go
get to
here
these
soon,
super
but let's
chats.
finish
Ready?
those super chats. And if you got any last burning questions, we're gonna be out of here soon. So if you wanna send us a super chat, get it out of your system right now.
Okay, ready? Chief of the Danites again says reality show idea: teams trekking from Nauvoo to Salt Lake, Survivor-like show.
All right, I'm
That's
down.
by the way, when I was talking about like why doesn't like the Mormon Church like do stuff that's like obviously that would have to do with the Mormon Church, but it's not like, oh, we're gonna talk about Jesus for an hour and a half straight. Like it'd be like a reality show, like you said, kind of like a what was that old show called? I forgot, where it was like they would like just go on like a long, was it like the enduro race? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
know.
I don't remember.
There used to be an old reality show from like 20
Okay.
years ago where people would just go on like it used to be like a big event too, and people would go on this like foot. It was like a race, but it was like you'd like go across like countries on foot, and it was like to see. It was almost like a marathon, I guess.
Are you talking about The Amazing Race?
The Amazing Race? Was like a show made later. This was more of like people would get like their like feet would like start getting like all rotted because they're wearing the same shoe. Like this was more
dang.
of like a physical like
Oh,
I guess like a
Hardcore.
Again, that has nothing to do with anything. But my larger point was just getting back to what like I mentioned is like, yeah, like I wonder why just the church doesn't do more stuff that's like, you know, themed around like what you guys
Hey,
do.
look, bro.
but not
If I
like,
ran the show, things would be different, but I don't.
like I was telling you, there's a lot of like cool old Western stories that involve Mormons. Don't they just make like Western movies about the Mormons? Like they're just Westerns that take place in Utah or
Do
wherever.
you hear that, church office building? Do you hear that?
Like I would. I'm sure there's some
Hire
cool stories.
Cody as a consultant, and let's get this cultural stuff going.
But I'm just saying, like, there's like all like old, like you're like the only religion that has like legit like American West stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
And
cool, huh?
And you don't tell them, I guess.
Yeah.
I have to like Wikipedia 'em to find out what happened. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I wonder why they didn't like talk about this. There's like a movie about this.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's one that came up?
God, I don't remember. There's the top of my head.
We'll think of that while we catch up the super chats. Catch
Okay,
us on the
ready?
super chats, Brittany.
Minor prophet Ian Malcolm says, get Dallas Jenkins on board to do the Book of Ether, Game of Thrones style, all diverse casting. It would be epic. I agree. That would be pretty
Stuff
epic.
like that. Yeah, you guys have like cool stories. You just like use them.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
just
dude.
like, and again, like it's the kind of thing where it's like if you just do stuff. Like again, like we were joking earlier, but there's, I not being a Mormon myself, there is a non-zero chance. Like there is at least a person who converted or became Mormon because they found out the killer's guy was Mormon. Like, at least one person had to have, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I want to just like promote more of the kind of like cool people and stuff.
Probably.
You're
Yeah.
hired for marketing, Cody.
Yeah. All right.
Wait.
Oh my gosh, I almost read that.
What?
I almost read their avatar. Donated $5 through super chat. Thank you.
Okay, Wilo C says, Ward Radio is my favorite YouTube channel. If I send you some of my art, would you be willing to hang it in your studio?
Well, let's see the art. You know, I actually looked up Wilo C.
Yeah, why not hang it? You got
The-
space.
Yeah, I want to see what it is though. I looked up Wilo C, and the first thing I saw was a graffiti half nude body that I couldn't show as on per the community guidelines of YouTube. So I was be like, well, is this your art? You know what I'm saying? Hey, Wilo C, reach out, dude. If you got cool art, dude, I'll hang it for a couple of shows, man. I'm all about promoting all of the cool artwork and music of independent artists here in the church. And yeah, just send us a link to your stuff. I'd love to see some of your art. Also, if you're pretty good and you don't mind doing something, maybe we'll do a small commission of something you could do for us. Like I don't know, make a cool logo to hang back here or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, send me a link to your stuff. Reach out on the website and we'll check it out. Brittany, keepers of the chats.
Hey,
keep going.
Danny Gray says, link for Jim Caviezel interview above required.
Okay.
I wonder which one it is. I've seen a couple interviews of him. He's a very passionate
Intense
speaker.
dude?
Yeah.
I have
very.
no idea who that
He's
is.
a very intense dude.
He
Especially
was
like,
also the main actor that played
He's
Tim
Jesus.
Ballard's character in Sound of Freedom.
he's Jesus.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of those roles. You know what, though? I was about to say that, and that's not true at all. Because I believe, wasn't it Willem Dafoe who was Jesus at one point?
Really?
Maybe. I don't know.
And the what's his? Oh my God! One of the famous directors made the Last Temptation of Jesus, right? Jesus, wasn't that?
I don't remember.
I don't think I'm crazy, but I'm pretty sure. I think it was Willem Dafoe.
I just know
Anyway,
Joaquin Phoenix played Jesus once, and it was intense.
Joaquin Phoenix was Jesus.
Yeah. It was like, I think it got tanked by COVID. The movie did, but like, yeah.
Wait,
Look
it was
up.
like recent.
Yeah. Look at Joaquin Phoenix as Jesus. Yeah, he played an intense.
Isn't that the
Jesus,
movie
man.
Mary? Is that the same
Yeah,
one?
something like that. Yeah.
I think it's just titled Mary.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
is that like because obviously I know Jesus is the big deal in your faith.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it is the
That's one
Church
way
of
to put
Jesus
it.
Christ of Latter-day Saints.
he is your boy. But like, is there like any like I guess we talked about this a bit already and no, but there's no like stigma or anything to the thought of like somebody portraying him in film or like making films
No,
about him?
no. We're not one of those thou shalt not have any graven images, and graven images means representation of anything physical.
Mhm.
Like in ancient Judaism, for example, one of the great ironies was that the temple shekel was a Phoenician coin that on its front had an image of the pagan god Baal of Phoenicia, and on the back there was a graven image of an eagle, which was actually considered a breach of doctrine. But the Talmud required that all temple coinage be in the best silver possible, and so in order to fulfill the Talmud, they had to exchange in Phoenician, specifically from the city of Tyre, like 98% pure silver coins that had the face of Baal on them. Yeah, it was crazy. And there was actually a revolt against Herod because he coined a coin that had a picture of either an owl or an eagle on it. And that was considered taboo back in the day. But yeah, that's not us.
Okay.
Islam is that way as well. A lot of the reason why there's a lot of floral decorations in Islam is because you can represent plant life, but not necessarily. I'm botching this, but
Well, let's
there's-
just move on to a super
yeah.
chat.
Let's move on to super
Okay.
chat. Let's keep going here.
Okay, Nicole Terry, she's a member. She has a
Whoop.
comment. She says, If it weren't for the North Dakota members of the church, I would not be a member today. I love my North Dakota members.
Hey, we'll go North Dakota
I
members.
think,
That's
you
awesome.
underestimated the Dakotas Mormons. It sounds like they got like a little.
I did.
They got they got something going on over there.
All right, that's your people. All right.
Okay,
The
next super
Dakotas.
chat says, since Jesus turned water into wine, why can't Mormons drink wine?
Dude, you know,
We were talking about this earlier too. I am curious, like, what it is, like, because there's nothing in like, as far as I understand, nothing in Christianity as far as how it's practiced across the globe that is like you can't drink alcohol ever. So I do think it's interesting.
a lot of that's just modern revelation.
I also think that I've heard it explained this way, that back in the day, the alcohol content, it was not like what it is today.
Wine was a secure source, okay,
that's a little
because
true.
most of the water was contaminated. So you would oftentimes drink wine because the filtration process of the plant would actually purify the water. However, this idea that it was all just for public safety that they drank wine back then, that's also false as well.
Yeah, they
It
noticed,
was far
for
less
sure.
alcoholic, okay? And the Word of Wisdom originally, Joseph Smith drank beer, for example, and the Nauvoo, there were 3 breweries in Nauvoo that actually paid their tithing to the bishop's storehouse in barrels of beer as recently as the 1840s and 50s. And in the Word of Wisdom, where it says soft drinks, that were allowed soft drinks back then did not mean soda. It didn't mean Sprite. It didn't mean Fanta. It actually meant booze that was made through natural fermentation, which would be light wines and beers. It wasn't considered a hard drink unless it was made through the distillation process, which is how you get your brandies. It's how you get your whiskeys. It's how you get the things that were outlawed during Prohibition. So in recent modernity, the church did allow a beer and light wines, but around the teens and the 20s,
Temperance movement.
Yeah, anti-Mormons would blame it all on the temperance movement and say, you're just buckling to the woes of society. However, I think when you see what alcohol did to the North American continent over the next 60 years, I would actually consider it prophetic wisdom. They changed the Word of Wisdom, which is our dietary restrictions, to include tobacco and alcohol. So, Mormon parties be dry parties, bro.
Well, so I guess kind of like my larger question from that, though, is, I mean, like, at this point, is it just kind of the thing where, like that's just the way it is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because, like you said, it's like there's like some stuff in there, but it's not like, it's like you go to hell if you drink beer once, right? Like, even in your own faith, you guys, well, no.
No,
just kind of like
it's not called hell. It's
people
called outer darkness,
I
but
get
you
that.
deserve it if you go there.
But my larger point is
No.
kind of
Oh
the
my
thing where
gosh.
it's kind of the thing where people just generally abstain from alcohol, and it's like we just do.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if they said, like, oh, you know what, like, this weekend you can. Do you think, like, how many people do you think actually like try
A lot. No.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm legitimately kind of curious. I have no. I wonder if it's because there's a lot of people who aren't Mormon who don't drink alcohol. Like they don't.
Yeah.
Like they just don't.
True.
You know what I
It's
mean? Like,
never been a temptation for me. So, like, even if they said I could, I don't think I'd be running to the shelves to grab it because I've just
yeah, that's what
never
I mean.
wanted to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
you're
don't know.
not leftist and self-loathing or feminist enough to want to become a box wine ants with 7 cats yet.
But, okay,
Mhm.
but
You
I
know.
guess to that point as well, though, I'm assuming at the same time there has to have been people. I mean, there's definitely people who are Mormon and either drink on the down low, kind of
Mhm.
slyly, or like at some point develop drinking problems and stuff. I'm just kind of curious. What is like the general?
Yeah,
vibe
for
around
sure.
it? But I mean, like, is the vibe around that like, like you want to help them and it's like not that big a deal, or is it kind of like a ooh, that's weird kind of thing?
I don't know. Good question.
I think it depends on the member. Like, for me, I don't know. I feel like Carter and I are pretty open-minded. So I feel like if someone did, we'd be like, okay, well, like, we have our own problems that we're dealing with. Like, some are more obvious than others. Of course, we don't think that it's okay.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't think, I don't know. I don't see anyone in my ward condemning someone for doing that. Like, I don't see that happening.
Like if you found out that somebody, or even a couple, quietly, and again, not like a drinking problem, just like quietly, responsibly, would have a little bit of wine to themselves, like when they have dinner amongst themselves at night, and it was like the kind of thing where like someone found out, but it's like, yeah, I mean, was it the kind of thing where that'd be like an issue, or people just be like, I guess if you like, it's between you and God, like you don't have to not. I mean,
Yeah.
That
I
would
don't
just
know.
depend on the individual, because alcohol, unfortunately, now is just so ubiquitous. You don't know if somebody's using it for a coping mechanism of a vacuum they need in their life that really needs to get filled with Jesus and not with booze. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like I said,
Or whether or not they really are just kind of drinking socially, and that's the social norm that they're following, and it doesn't occupy a big a chunk of their bandwidth and their personal health, or is adversely affecting them.
And also, like, if they are having like a glass of wine at night or whatever, I feel like there's much bigger fish to fry than that. Like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
like,
feel
yeah.
like,
That's my larger point. It's the kind of
Yeah.
thing where it's like, you know, like we all kind of like try not to do that, but if
No
you do,
one's
like,
if
clutching
that's
their
the
pearls.
worst thing you're doing in life, I think you're doing pretty good.
Okay,
Like,
that
that's
makes
my
sense.
thoughts on it.
Don't worry, we won't. You can still get sloshed, bro.
no, I'm not.
For at least
no, hold on.
like, it's fine.
That
bro,
is
dog,
really
you
not
know?
what I'm asking. I'm just more curious because it's the kind of thing like
Just don't show up to church drunk,
Well, no,
okay?
that-
It starts at 10
hold on.
a.m., dog.
Oh, that is not at all what I'm getting at. What I'm more getting at is, like I said, there's a lot of people who just simply don't drink for no religious reasons. So I was curious with like a faith that actually does kind of like practice like don't drink, like they just like, let's say temperance, right? But I was just wondering kind of like the vibes on it. If it's the kind of thing where it's like, you know, it's like a hard line, like, whoa, get out of here, you can't, or if it's just kind of like don't. We all agreed to not. We think it's better to not. Like,
Well, we all believe in the atonement and like progression, right? So I feel like a lot of members, I don't know. I don't feel like.
What do you mean by atonement, babe? This is layman we're speaking to. Cody the
Oh, yeah,
Oracle.
sorry. Okay, so-
how would you define that? I ask you because I'm actually curious. How would you just define that to a layman?
Okay, so like the atonement, we believe in like repentance, forgiveness,
I get that.
right? Like we believe like if you make a mistake, you're not banished to purgatory or whatever, like Catholics or, you know, like you're not like that. It's like, you know, we believe like we're here on earth to be tested. So I don't know. I feel also like testimony meeting is a great place, at least in our wards. I know some other wards are very like strict, but our ward is very open, where testimony meeting is kind of like, hey, like we've had drug addicts before give testimony and they're like, hey, like I'm having a really hard time this week. I'm just asking for some prayers. I'm being open about my struggle.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's really beautiful. And I feel like that's what church is that we all struggle with something. Some people might be wine, some people might be coffee, some people might be not cheating on their spouse. You know, like there's always something.
Yeah, I get that.
And I feel like members, at least in my ward, are very good about being accepting and understanding and just trying to help everyone, you know, elevate or progress.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Cool.
larger point, just the idea is I do, like, you know, that one super chatter pointed out, like, there probably is people, I imagine, that are Mormon that, like, want to drink. And, like, I imagine, like you said, they don't excommunicate you, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
no.
I mean, if you quietly, especially, I mean, like, shoot, there's a lot
Better
of,
be quiet.
well, I mean, there's, like, functionally full-blown alcoholics. I'm sure there's people that could quietly have a glass of whiskey every night without anyone ever knowing. It
We
was
were
like
just
one little
joking.
glass.
But like I feel like we would tell them like, hey, like let's try to solve this issue, right? Like we don't teach that that's okay. Like of course we're all going to fall. No one is perfect,
Yeah.
but let's try to figure out a way for you to maybe give that up or to reduce it, or, you know, trying to help you in that.
I get that. But again,
Yeah.
if that person were to just say, like, nah, I'm good, like, you wouldn't, like, kick them out, right? They technically,
We
I
wouldn't
guess,
kick them
are allowed
out,
to.
but yeah, like I don't know, they probably wouldn't have a temple recommend, or maybe they would. I think it's up to the bishop, because like I think it's mostly like, do you feel good in your relationship to God, and do you feel like you can be in the temple? Like that's like our ultimate
Dude,
goal is to go to
bro.
the temple.
Bro,
I guess, like, that's kind of my point, right? Where it's like, 'cause there's like, what if you just didn't, like, I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up, like, someone super chatted and said, where they're like, well, why can't, you know, we drink if we're in the church, right? And I feel like, right, like, yeah, like, I mean, like, really, like, technically, only God knows, right? Like, it's not like they don't, like, drug test you, right? There's, like, it's like between,
There's no
like,
drug testing.
But what I mean
That
is,
is
like,
correct.
But what I mean is, it's interesting. It's just because I mean, I'm not. I drink a little bit here and there, but I'm not
Mhm.
religious. It's just like normal for
Yeah.
like people culturally, and I wouldn't. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I think it's cool what you guys do, but it's not necessarily my jam 100%.
I've seen that all copper distillery of you. No, I'm just kidding.
But sorry, my larger point though is I do think that it's kind of like a fascinating position to be in, where it's like you want to be a member of the church, you're a member of the church, but you're also like, why can't I just also have like a beer and watch the game?
Dude,
like
you know
other
what I'm
people
going to do, bro? Is
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
if
That's
you
kind
go
of-
on Amazon.com you can buy a flask, a hip flask, or a vest flask still for like $15. I'm gonna get one, and while I'm teaching my Sunday school lesson, I'm just gonna take it out.
You know what? This might be where you guys being Mormons are, but dude, like I'm not kidding when I say like there are people that are like full blown functioning alcoholics, like full blown. Like I mean, like legitimately, like you wouldn't know necessarily depending on things if you met them that they were drunk because they wake up and start drinking and don't stop. Like those people exist, man. They're real. There's people that are able to like hide like liver destruction levels of drinking from like people until it's like gets really bad. Like that's what I mean. Like I have to imagine there is some percentage of people that are in the church that just because like not everyone also is that bad either. There's a lot of people, man, that like legitimately have like their one little glass of neat scotch every night and that's it. Like that, those people exist.
Look,
and
when you get baptized, you could be a high functioning alcoholic, and we're not going to kick you out.
Okay. Again, I do want to make it clear. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more, I just thought it was curious based off that super chat, the idea of people who do have that kind of like conflict of wanting to be in the church and wanting. Because I feel like if you decide to be a Mormon, you're probably pretty comfortable not drinking or
really
smoking. It's like, why would you choose to be like the one Christian faith that cares if you drink if you wants to drink? You know, it's like, well, either drop it because you believe in the faith, or if you don't believe in it that much, then you probably shouldn't be there. I don't know. Well, I think it's an interesting kind of conflict.
Yeah, well, the way that conflict would be mitigated, because I'm sure there would be a lot of cognitive dissonance for somebody that was a high functioning alcoholic going to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Boy, that's an extreme. Yes.
I've hired and become friends who are part of the church. Has its own wonderful, and we've interviewed these guys on our podcast, addiction recovery program. Mm-hmm. That's some people say better than even. Because of its more deeper spiritual significance being tied to the church. Others say modeled after and equally as successful as the AA program, which has helped a lot of people. But the churches, there's a lot of people that aren't members of our church that actually attend our addiction recovery program. And I've heard people say that some of the most beautiful spiritual experiences they've ever had are assisting people through addiction recovery. And they've had a deeper and more meaningful experience with the gospel that way. And these are people that I trust, so that's pretty awesome. Anyway, we're gonna have to wrap it up here now because we're we're.
You have the last super chat ready.
Did you get Carolyn Wright Gaines' music?
That you just.
Oh, okay, good.
You gave it away.
Sorry, hit it.
Okay, she says, "You are my faves. Thanks for your show."
Oh, Carolyn Wright Gaines' music.
Too kind.
Thank you. You know, yeah, she's pretty cool. I've actually had a chance to speak with her on the phone, and you know, we're gonna have to do something up there in Idaho. If we ever make it up there, when we make it up there, we should say. So anyway, we're going to be done here in the next 2 minutes, guys. I'm wrapping it up here. If you have any last final questions or super chats, please make sure you send them to us right now. If they're appropriate and we can read them on air, we will read them on air. But until then, please make sure.
Wait, last question.
Yes.
From me.
Yeah, hit it.
Do Mormons like football? And does like church and football ever like come up? It's a small one, but I'm curious.
Well, you know BYU has a massive football team.
Right? I know. That's why I'm assuming. Yeah. Like, is that like a conversation among like the wards? Like, oh,
it's annoying if you don't play football because in some wards they're so into their football, especially high school football. They'll talk the high school football for the first like 15 minutes of Elders Quorum. Well, it actually is problematic.
Now I feel like more people will because Taylor Swift, you know, like she put football on the map, you know. So I feel like
the biggest sport in America. I know it is funny.
I love saying this to men; they get so aggravated.
Well, but it's funny because it's like people that is like the media take on it, but it's like it's the most popular sport in America. The Super Bowl exists because it's like the biggest game of the and it's but not Taylor.
It's okay, Cody. You can like football.
You know what?
It's okay.
You know what I don't get though? If Taylor Swift is so great, why haven't they asked her to do the halftime show at Super Bowl?
They did, and she said no.
Oh well, now is she going to say no? Look at all the attention she gets.
Yeah.
Especially if Kansas City makes it to the Super Bowl, now she has to.
They will not be dating in February.
Is that your prediction, Cody? The
Everyone
Oracle?
thinks now it's a PR stunt. I don't know.
You know what? If it isn't, just happened to work out that way. Both of them more famous now.
Wow.
You know, that's funny.
Travis Kelce went from like his jersey sales are pretty high to #1 by hundreds of thousands because he's dating Taylor Swift.
Dude, that's pretty hilarious.
And Taylor Swift, I mean, you could say Taylor Swift's got the rub from football. A lot of football people, Taylor Swift, who's that?
Yeah.
Ariana Grande, that same person. Now they know who Taylor Swift is.
Yeah, exactly.
And football's on Sundays for the professional games. That's why I ask if football on church
There's
Sundays
a lot of DVRs.
Oh, sorry. And the last thing you mentioned something earlier I wanted to ask you about. You said that like you joked with people playing Candy Crush during like boring
Well,
Like, are you allowed to like have an on phone in the church?
in the
And
singles
there's always
ward,
one that starts ringing, and everyone's like,
But that'd be like, do you see a lot of like?
they don't slap it out of your hand. In the singles wards, I had a bishop that literally said, I'm going to ask you to leave if I see you get on your phone during sacrament meeting. And he was hardcore, and that was Bishop Sayre, and he was a savage. But all the others, it's, just don't make it too obvious, all right? Some people put it in their hymn book, and some people, just be like, oh, I'm checking my home teaching. You know what I'm saying?
Also,
But
people legit will just like watch football on their phone. Like,
I
in their
wouldn't say
lap.
they'd get away with watching football.
not watching, but they're like Googling, like, what's the score now?
yeah,
What quarter are we in?
Keep an eye
Yeah,
on it.
you got some
Yeah.
people there.
Okay.
So anyway,
That's cool.
tell us where we go wrong, guys. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments as usual. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real
Hold
fun.
on, Stephen Diamond snuck one in.
Snuck one in. Okay, last super chat right
He
here.
says, when you guys come out, I got a book to show you. Well, that's a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it
Oh,
also sounds
cool.
like a
Yeah.
like a mafioso thing. Like, yeah, I got a book to show you. It's over here in the dark alley, man. It's just like Stephen Diamond, you're a stud. Thanks again for the super chat, my man. Any last things you want to say before we go, Cody? I'm wrapping it up right here.
No, that was it. I was mostly just curious about the
Cool.
football on the phone.
All right. Well, we are going to return and report and let everybody know how it goes with young Cody here on his first Sunday at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with none other than Brittany the Shadow and Carden Ellis. All right.
Hopefully I don't get hit by a car for stealing
Yeah,
someone's seats.
exactly. Hopefully you won't get hit by a car stealing somebody's seats.
No promises, Cody.
Other than that, if you haven't had a chance, please like this stream. Please share it with your friends. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And as always, to see more, know more, and reach out to us, make sure you check us out at Ward Radio.